inspiring others, in changing the world, in making it a more just and fair place through education and inspiration. Our goal: everyone, everywhere, now. If you are interested in making a difference, working, partnering, volunteering, supporting, or even licensing the best you, let's talk. Let's work together and make the world a better place.
The Best You Online. Featuring in-depth interviews, motivational talks, and inspiring masterclasses from the world's top experts, motivational speakers, business gurus, and thought leaders. Leaders and influencers from all over the world are here to share their knowledge and skills with you. The Best You Online is a priceless mine of personal development wisdom, knowledge, and practical information to help you take charge of your life and take your business and career beyond where you have always wanted to go. The Best You Online.
The well-being industry is worth $3 trillion. Hi, I'm Bernardo Moy. I'm the founder of The Best You, and I wanted to share with you my vision, my dream, the concept of The Best You. The Best You is a multi-platform, global platform. Our first thing is the Best You Expo. Now, we've been doing this for the last 5 years, and over these last 5 years, we've had close to 70,000 people attend, and we promoted more than 700 speakers. Because we filmed every single event, we have more than 700 talks from world leaders, all in one library of content. The really exciting thing about the Best You is our growth strategy. Look, we're going to be running expos all over the world. We've done them now in London and California. We're exploring about running them in Miami. We're looking at running them in Canada, in Mexico. It's just the beginning. So this business model where we will license the Best You Expo will allow us to attract more and more speakers, to attract the biggest brands, to attract all the thinkers that will want to be involved, not only in the local, but in the international reach and approach that we have. This will provide us phenomenal revenue and so much content through all the talks and all the different partners that we will have around the world. And there's so many opportunities for people like yourself, for you to be able to get involved in the Best You now. Thank you so much.
Now, the Best You Personal and Professional Development Virtual Expos are happening globally in 2021. Whether you want to speak, exhibit, or attend, these are online events for all those passionate about living a better life, creating a better world, gaining greater mindfulness and meaning in these new times, and becoming the best version of themselves. Book your speaking slot, your virtual booth, and get tickets to attend now.
What is life? Your life isn't just about what you're doing now. Your life is the sum of every hope you ever had and everything you ever wanted to be. Life is about the situations you deal with, how you get to where you want to be, and how you become who you want to be. Life is a collection of moments and memories. Life is about being alive, feeling alive. Life is about dealing with whatever fate throws at you. Life is about staying on top when things are challenging. Life is about enjoying yourself, about finding yourself, about leaving a legacy. Life is about looking and feeling good, about staying ahead. It's about being the best you. What you want, what we all want, is a life without limits. So why don't you be the best you?
Hey, and we're back. We're back at the Best You Expo, day one, the virtual expo in London. Now, look, my next guest, which I'm going to do an intro first, and then we'll bring him in, is someone who's I'm a deep fan. I'm a big fan of him personally, and a big fan of his brand. Johann Ingo Fritz is attained his master in photography in Germany, working successful as a fashion photographer for almost 20 years in Hamburg, and in London. And his life changed drastically in 2011 when he had a heart attack and 6 months later was diagnosed with cancer. After unsuccessful radiotherapy, he was left to find other survival options, which he did. And during his search for a cure, he turned to the internet, soon realizing that there were no one central point where you could turn to get your health information, regardless of what your health issue was. He decided in creating such a platform, and 6 weeks later, he launched the beta version of the UK Health Radio, still fighting cancer at the time. Through nutritional and lifestyle changes, he finally beat cancer, and since then, he has been named the curator of health expertise. His mantra is good health is a choice. UK Health Radio now presents its information through 28 presenters, probably a lot more now, and it's aired 24/7 with more than 1.2 million and growing very dedicated listeners. So Johan, thank you so much for being here.
Hello, good afternoon, Bernardo. How are you?
I'm very good, Johan. Thank you so much. I'm delighted and honored that you're here. Thank you so much. Kudos to you, Johan, for all the great work that you've done and how many people you've inspired over the years personally, but also through, the microphones that you've given to so many great people around the world that are, reaching millions of people and guiding them and educating them, because there's a big lack of education out there when it comes down to health, obviously, apart from many other things. So I wanted to thank you so much for the work that you've done. We're honored to have you here speaking today. And you've obviously got the floor. I'll be delighted to come back at the end if you wanted to do so, or we can do some Q&As, but the floor is yours. What's the title of your talk, Johan?
Fantastic. Thank you, Bernardo. I'm so glad you mentioned all the wonderful people in front of the microphones. As you said, I'm the curator of health expertise, but the people that are actually delivering this amazing information are our presenters. They're all health professionals in their different areas. They're not just radio presenters, they are health professionals that have been schooled in radio. So yeah, all my hat off to them, of course, as well, because without them, we wouldn't have anything.
Well, thank you, Johan. The floor is yours. Thank you so much. I'll be back at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernardo. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that's joined us this afternoon. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here with myself, with us. Truly is appreciated. As Bernardo just mentioned, my name is Johan Ilgenfritz. I am a cancer survivor, and I am the founder and CEO of UK Health Radio. Now, I have a mantra, and my mantra is good health is a choice. Now, I know many people would think that it's quite a bold statement to make. But in my case, and in most cases, good health is a choice. When it comes to cancer, I've walked my talk. When it comes to heart attacks, I've had one of them as well. Did you know that only 5 to 10% of all cancer-related illnesses on the planet today are genetically inherited? That means that 90 to 95% are contributed to our lifestyles, with nutrition and toxic overload being the top two culprits. It's incredible, these numbers, and they are true. It's a proven fact that lifestyle plays such a big role in our health today. My health issues started back in 2011. There I was working as a fashion photographer based in Hamburg and in London, when in February of that year, I had the heart attack. Wasn't a very serious one, wasn't a very big one, but it was still a heart attack at 46 years old, which everybody told me was about 15 years too early. 4 months later, while everybody was telling me that I should be feeling better, I wasn't feeling better. The doctors were saying, "Why aren't you? What's the matter? You're not progressing." In June of that year, I was diagnosed with cancer. I immediately started radiotherapy. I was tested for chemo, but found to be allergic. In the end, I did 2 sets of radiotherapy. But there was something during this period, this time, that really worried me. I wasn't part of that process. Really difficult to describe. I had no duties, actually. Nobody said to me, follow this diet or don't. Nobody said to me, stop doing sport or start doing sport or don't. As I said, my only duty was to be there for the actual treatment. In October of 2011, I was given the all clear, but I have to admit that that feeling that I had, that feeling of, I won't say hopelessness, but very similar to that, that feeling of not being part of the journey of the process, stayed with me. It remained, it lingered. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it's like. Life returns to normal, and they did, unfortunately. In February of 2012, during my my first post-cancer appointment, screenings, I was told that the cancer had returned with a vengeance, that it had spread everywhere, and that I had a maximum of between 8 and 12 months to live. This was actually a very profound day in my life, not because of the diagnosis. I call it my second diagnosis, but not because of that. It was actually the first day that I made a conscious decision. And that decision was not to die. I realized that nobody was going to fight for my life the way I was going to fight for it. And I realized that if you don't become part of this process right now, right here, it's all over. It really was. It really was quite profound for me. I remember, I can still remember it like it happened yesterday, me sitting in the doctor's office and her telling me 12 months to live, life expectancy, all that. And I can still hear the voice in the back of my head screaming at me, not going to happen. You are going to see your sons turn 4 and 12 and 5 and 13 and so on, and finish school and go to university, etc. So that was really such an important day in my life. I thought to myself, okay, so the first option didn't work. Now go and look if you can find another option or options. I had no idea. I had no idea of what was coming or anything like that. I immediately I went home, basically started researching, and where do you go to look for information like that? There where everybody says you shouldn't go, the internet. I went to the internet. What followed was a very hard time, actually. It was months, very dark months of literally hundreds, perhaps even thousands of information-filled pieces of paper floating around the house. Information that I'd researched during this time, printed out, read multiple times, etc. Until one morning, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll never forget this. I read a sentence that literally took my breath away. And the sentence reads, "Cancer cannot survive in an alkaline, oxygenated environment." Cancer cannot survive in an oxygenated, alkaline environment. That's the correct way around, actually. And this was my lifeline. All the lights went on in my head. I kept on reading, and I informed myself that this was discovered by a German biochemist by the name of Dr. Warburg back in 1931. He actually won a Nobel Prize for this discovery in 1931. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it is amazing that so few people around the world actually know about this. Well, since I've known about it, many more people have found out. Believe me, I shout it from the rooftops to anybody that's willing to listen. And to those that aren't willing to listen, they hear it as well, believe me. So very quickly explained, what this means is that we all have a pH value in our bodies. And 7.2 is neutral. And if you go below 7.2, your body becomes acidic more and more and more, of course, as the scale goes down. Now, acid in your body turns to glucose, which in other words is sugar. And sugar is the main source of nutrition for cancer. That is what cancer cells feed on. 7.2 is neutral, as I said before. Everything above 7.2 is into the alkaline scale. So now you are like reducing the sugar as you go along. And this has the exact opposite effect. So you basically start starving the cancer. And that's basically what this discovery explains or outlines. I immediately woke my wife. As I mentioned before, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. And I literally said to her, Rafaela, wake up. I have found a way not to die. And this through something that I, up to that point, had literally never heard of. Nutrition, lifestyle. And I think the reason why this cancer cannot survive in an oxygenated alkaline cellular environment sentence really spoke to me was it was scientific. It doesn't get more scientific than a Nobel Prize, believe me. That morning, later on that morning, as I said, I woke my wife at 2. Later on that morning, we started researching nutrition. I literally almost immediately became as we learned and as we implemented, now we had no idea. This was like, we were just shot in the dark. Off we went. And as we learned, we implemented, I became a vegetarian quite quickly. And then later on, as our research progressed and so on, I became a vegan. And today I am an alkaline vegan. And I probably will be that for the rest of my life. This is really important because at that point of view, it was probably the biggest mind shift I'd ever had in my life. I knew I knew I could change the cause to change the effect. Now that's a natural law, ladies and gentlemen. If you change the cause, you will change the effect. I literally went from believing wholeheartedly that cancer was the cause of my illness to realizing that it was merely a symptom of an already sick body. So change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Amazing that is, isn't it? I've been cancer-free now for over 7 years. It took me 2.5 years to get rid of everything. It's not a quick fix, never has been, never will be. And it's not only nutrition. Lifestyle has so many aspects to it. As we progressed, we investigated more and more and more and more into lifestyle changes that can alkaline your body. For example, there are breathing exercises by Wim Hof that I do almost on a daily basis that actually alkalines your system. We looked into stress. Stress is a major, really big factor on when it comes to acidity in the body. And I probably now have more stress than I had as a photographer, even though that was quite extreme in those days as well, I have to admit. And we noticed that time pressure, in my case now, time pressure played such a big role in causing stress for me. So I looked at how I could change that. And I simply tried it out and it worked. I lengthened my day. I get up at 3:45 in the mornings. And it's not all work. I'm lucky enough to have a home office as well, which during the COVID times has come in really handy as well, I have to admit. But it's not only work, but I'm literally at my computer at 4 in the morning. And that also gives me time to do some of my self-development, some meditation, which plays a very big part in my role, in my world. I tried yoga, didn't work, just no go, not possible. My wife does yoga. My son's even joined in with her sometimes, just can't do it. I run, I love it. It's become such a big part of, it's actually part of my meditation, it's part of my mantras. Time for me, time for my mantras. And sometimes I just run just to get out, just to fresh air, just to feel the exhilaration of it. I run between 10 and 12 kilometers every second day. So doing well, actually. Built it up very slowly, gradually, as it went on. Another very big part of my regime, my health and wellness regime, as I call it, is fasting. I tried the 3-day, I tried the 5-day, I tried the 7-day fasting, just no go. It's not possible that I cannot eat anything, especially when you're running 10 and 12 Ks every alternate day, that you can do that. So I tried something else, intermittent fasting. And I've been doing that now for quite a few years already. It worked really well. I have lunch at 1, 2. It's not, everybody thinks it's always such a rigid form. It's not. It's just, as I said, lunchtime, 1, 2, sometimes even a bit later, we have a really good meal, our main meal. In the afternoon, late afternoon at 6 o'clock, just after work, I finish round about between 5:30 and 6. We have a short, a light snack, light healthy snack, and that's it. And then we don't eat. I don't eat again until the following afternoon. But it works, and it works really well. I think the important thing is for you to test all these things and find out what works for you. Nothing works for everybody, and nobody is the same. That's why I find personalized medicine so important in today's health and wellness regime, in everybody's health and wellness regime. That's why I really battle with this one size fits all health and wellness scale that we have at the moment. So yeah, try it out for yourself. Look what works for you, what doesn't work for you, improve it, whatever. Just be part of that process. Really, I think that's the most important bit I'm trying to say here, is be part of that. Don't give your health to somebody else to look after. Be part of the process. Now, all this that I've just told you was the birth of an idea, actually. It was the birth of UK Health Radio. I wanted to bring together information into one central space. Good quality, true information that other people in my situation that I was in back in 2012 didn't have to go through. That searching, that anguish for not knowing all the time whether it's going to work, whether it's not going to work. I mean, I must be one of the people with the biggest survival drive there is on this planet. But I explain it to my wife like this as well. I explained it to Rafael, and I explained it to quite a few people in the sense that I just to get across how I was feeling. I said to Rafaela one day, I don't know why I don't just jump out the window and put an end to it. Why am I waiting around for the cancer to get me? It was just a way of explaining in what state of mind, where I was at that stage. A lot of people that listen to my story think that UK Health Radio is probably natural health only. And this is so far from the truth as you can get. UK Health Radio does not favor either natural health or mainstream health or integrated health for that matter. UK Health Radio strives to source the best quality true information, and we air them both side by side with the intention not to provoke, only to inform. That is our main goal. So yeah, once again, 2 o'clock in the morning, I wake Rafaela and I say to her, Rafaela, wake up. I have an idea. I want to start a radio station. I know what you're thinking. She didn't go, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Are you mad? And you want to do what? None of that. She literally said to me, Johan, I'm sure you will. And I did. 6 weeks later, we launched UK Health Radio on the wonkiest website I think anybody had ever seen. We had 2 listeners for the first 3 months. The first 3 months, we had 2 listeners. I was one of them. And I'm sure Rafaela was the other one. She's never admitted to it. But who else could it have been? Today, UK Health Radio has the most, it's amazing. I just, it's so amazing when I say that. Has the most in-depth information on the widest range of health topics available. All aspects of health and wellness, fitness, diet and nutrition, illness prevention, even environmental issues. As I always mention, everything from the skin to the soul. Today we have 28 presenters, still 28, Bernardo, but that is changing very soon. We're working on a new schedule that will allow us to almost double that amount, not immediately, but over quite a short period of time, actually. About a year, we could double that. So yeah, we have 28 presenters. We're on air 24/7. And we have 1.2 million listeners worldwide. Now, I don't know if that sounds a lot to you or not, but to me, that is, in 8 years, going from 2 listeners to 1.2 million listeners is amazing. I have to admit, our current situation, COVID, from a listener point of view, did help us a tremendous amount as well, because I think health has become mainstream almost to most people. I mean, health was always important to people when they were ill, or when a relative got ill, or a sibling or a child or whatever. But I think at the moment, health is mainstream. I mean, wherever you look, no matter where you look, it's health. And that did help our listenership tremendously. Naturally, of course, from the advertising and from the financial point of view, it was a disaster in the beginning. But now, 1.2 million listeners, the advertisers are returning, and it's getting back to normal. But yeah, back to the radio station. We also have on the website, over and above our live schedule, we have a listen on demand section, which is where if you've missed your show on the radio, you can go to the listen on demand, get it there. We have, for each show, we keep about 18 months worth of shows, of episodes. At the moment, we have just over 4,000 hours of audio on the website for people to choose from. But this is not carved in stone. Quite often we get I'll get an email from one of the presenters that says to me, "Listen, Johan, I did a show about XYZ 6 months ago. I've got new information about it. I've done a new show on it. Can you take that one off and put the new one, the new one next? And that's how we do it. So there's a continuous flow of updated information, health information coming our listeners' way. We have an article section as well, of course, where not only, but also really interesting articles from the science world, from the universities, studies being done on all kinds of, from dementia to ingrown toenails, etc. So really interesting articles to read on there. We have a Health Triangle magazine, which is our digital magazine. It's a health magazine only, but it's different to normal health magazines. Many health magazines are very sterile, if I could call it that, almost. This one isn't. I get accused of trying to turn it into a fashion magazine all the time. This one is, which is not true, of course. This one is, it's colorful, it's vibrant, it's a lifestyle magazine, but it's only health. And we try and do other topics than on the radio. They also, from other people, from other contributors, even if the topic is the same, quite often we have contributors that aren't the same as the presenters, of course, in that. So we get a good mix of really good information coming in. The latest addition to our website is called WikiHealth. It's what the name says it is. It's a Wikipedia for health. And that is basically what we have achieved, what we have created in the last 8 years. I quite often get asked, so why radio? Why not television, for example? It's actually a personal thing. It's nothing else. I've always found that radio is a very personal medium. If it's done correctly, of course. You can sit in the comfort of your own home and you can listen to a story and it sounds as if that presenter is speaking with you and to you only, if done correctly. And we naturally, we try and do exactly that on UK Health Radio. The other reason is actually quite a funny story. At the time, I was still living in Hamburg. The main radio station in Hamburg has a jingle. It's a music radio station. It's got nothing to do with health or anything, but it was just so applicable. And translated from German into English, it doesn't work as well as it does in German, but it'll give you an idea. Translated, it basically says, radio goes in your ear and the information stays in your head. And those two things just clinched it for me. That's why radio. UK Health Radio has a very clear purpose, and this is to inform and animate people in a positive manner, not people, you in a positive manner, to take responsibility for your own health. Now, please, this does not mean taking your health into your own hands, but to become part of the process of attaining, and very important, and or keeping your health freedom. Because believe me, ladies and gentlemen, it is a freedom that you don't know you have until you lose it. So you see, good health is a choice, and good radio is also a choice. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. How are you?
Hello, Bernardo. Very well, thank you.
Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing all your expertise. I also wanted to point out, obviously, kind of a lot of the things that you've been saying there, that it is really around the importance of health. I think, kind of we seem to be very, well, first of all, and I include myself, I really got in, I started really meditating more as I got older, taking care of myself more as I got older, and then consequently being grateful as I got older, and appreciating all the things that we have, and it starts with the fact that we're alive, we can breathe, we're healthy, because unfortunately there's a lot of people that don't have that luxury, and it is a luxury. Yeah. But I seem to think that, and obviously this is what you do, and you do so well with your TV shows, with your magazines, and everything, all the services, the amazing services that you provide, is that people tend to pursue the wrong things. You know, I think we spend our lives pursuing wealth, and then we spend, hopefully, if we're lucky enough, to have some wealth, because some people don't, and they don't have insurances, and they don't have a contingency plan, and they don't have anything, then they spend whatever wealth they've managed to make on their health. So, you know, I think what you bring is so essential.
Yeah. It really is so important, and that's I always try and look at the positive side of all kinds of things, and that's why I mentioned earlier about COVID. It's actually, in that sense, it's brought health into the mainstream for us all, and I think that health will never be on the side burner as it was up until a year ago. Basically, I think health has become such a main part of our lives now, and I can't see it. I really can't see it. I mean, it might dip a little bit, but I can't see it going back to the state it was in. I must be very honest with you.
And also, obviously, by being healthy, by taking care of yourself, exercising, eating the right things, then, you know, you have more of more possibilities of obviously having a stronger immune system, which obviously is one of the reasons why a lot of people unfortunately don't make it, is because they're not healthy and they have a really bad immune system. So I think creating awareness around everything that has to do around health, which obviously includes exercising and having a good, strong immune system, has, as you said, is probably coming more at the forefront because of COVID.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons why I found the initial campaign that Boris started, I found really good, because it was about basically your immune system. It slacked off a bit, unfortunately, but I mean, the stronger your immune system, the bigger the defense there is against anything, against COVID or anything else for that matter. And it's the beginning and the end of it, and our lifestyles play such an important part in it that it should be the first thing. You know, it should be right in the front of everybody's day-to-day life.
So you're involved in a lot of projects. Obviously, you're a busy man. If anything, what have you implemented or done or doing differently? Luckily, you know, you had a business or a platform that was pretty much online anyway. Yeah. But what have you done or implemented differently, or what are you doing because of, you know, COVID or this new reality we have, you know, looking into 2021 and 2022?
Yeah, actually quite a lot. I mean, over and above the information we're sourcing on it and about it, because you've got to know what you're looking at and what you're talking about. We have a lot. We have, I think the whole health world is moving in a health tech direction. We've done 180 degrees turn. Even now, as we speak, there are more and more health tech companies helping the NHS, helping national health services all around the world than ever before. And this is really important. We've brought on a show. It's called the Health Tech Hour, that really focuses on that, of course, on the health, on different health issues we had, but also on the idea, because a lot of people aren't open to that. I was one of them, to be very honest with you. I was still one of those people that wanted to go and sit in front of a doctor and be able to speak with him face to face. And since the implementation of this show, and, you know, getting them on air, getting Steve on air and everything, even my attitude has changed toward it. I think there's a wealth waiting for us in health tech. That's it's going to be a money saver, a time saver, and the whole being getting COVID or whatever is taken off the cards, because you can do it from home. So I think that's the main thing. We also internally planning more in that direction as well. It's one of the, it's probably by the end of the year, we're looking at like perhaps even offering consultations on with doctors to our listeners on the platform.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's absolutely fantastic. It's like everything, isn't it? You know, you couldn't teach kids at home. You couldn't see, you know, doctors couldn't see you at home. You couldn't work from home. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? You know, it's all happened, and everyone is buying into it now,
Yeah.
and it's here to stay. You know, avoid that traveling, and I think that will be a great add-on service to what you know, the amazing service you're already doing. So, Johan, listen, once again, thank you so much for your great work. Thank you so much. I know you've mentioned it, but where could people find you, and what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Very easy. www.ukhealthradio.com. That's our website. At UK Health Radio, all our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, that's where you can get us. We have an app as well, so you can download the app, take us on your run, whatever. And we are also now on Alexa worldwide. So all you need to say is, Alexa, play UK Health Radio, and off she goes.
Oh, good. You've got Alexa working for you already. That's amazing. I need to do that. Johan, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Bernardo. And thank you for a great platform, great job, great work you do. Really, you have my greatest respect.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Johan. Means a lot. Thank you. So, Johan Ingefritz from UK Health Radio, a great resource for you. Anything for everything related to health. Their magazine as well has phenomenal experts. So I highly recommend that you sign up, join, listen, and get involved in a lot of the great work that they do. Now, we're going to be playing a 5-minute commercial, and I'll be back. And then when I am back, I'm going to be talking about the Best You TV. And we'll talk about the Best You TV and some of the new shows that we've got happening. And then on the hour, I have, well, we've brought a good friend of mine, someone I trained with many years ago, who I love very dearly, Michael Neal. So Michael Neal, we've got a talk from him coming on the hour. But right now, we're going to play a 5-minute commercial, and I'll be right back. Make sure you come back and see me. Thank you.
The Best You Online. Featuring in-depth interviews, motivational talks, and inspiring masterclasses from the world's top experts, motivational speakers, business gurus, and thought leaders. Leaders and influencers from all over the world are here to share their knowledge and skills with you. With over 500 speakers, The Best You Online is a priceless mine of personal development wisdom, knowledge, and practical information to help you take charge of your life and take you, your business, and career beyond where you have always wanted to go. The Best You Online.
What I would say along the journey, the biggest turning point for me is when I realized that I was so used to saying yes. I was saying yes to so many things. It was getting to be overwhelmed and confusion and not know it was clear. Still happens sometimes. I'm not perfect at it. But when I realized, like Warren Buffett says, he says, I say no to everything. And a couple things a year sneak in because they were perfect for my bigger future. So along that journey, if you say what was the biggest change in my life, is learning to say no. And in your journey, how do you say no? You know, when people say to me, Dean, I'm overwhelmed, or I need a time management course, or I need to fit more time, or I wish I had 48 hours in a day, they don't need time management. They need clarity. They need a vision. Because most people walk around knowing what they don't want in life. Like we just literally spend so much time knowing what we don't want, and when we do that, we say yes to too many things. And I've asked thousands of people this. You could ask somebody, what they don't want out of life, and they will ramble off all the things that aren't working, their wife, their husband, their money, their income. And if you stop them abruptly and go, okay, you don't want that. Tell me right now, really quick, what do you want out of life? I've done this with thousands of people. 9 out of 10 will literally go blank. They'll say, that's a good question, or I really don't know. So what are you doing? We're in a Ferrari. with no GPS, going 100 miles an hour, but we don't know where we're going. Why did I take so much time to share that? Because that's one of the biggest secrets of my life, the biggest changer for me, are the most successful people I know. When you ask them where they're going, they know just like that. So with that said, instead of just avoiding what you don't want, when you have clarity, and this is a little hack, do this. If you get nothing else out of this interview, do this one thing for me. Pretend it's a year from now, and it's the best year of your life. Let's just pick your finances. It's the best year of your life. You are doing so well financially and in the career that you love that you walk in a room and people don't know if you got a tan, you got a haircut, you've been working out. Your wife looks at you and goes, damn, he's sexy. Or your husband looks at you and goes, wow, she looks so beautiful. Like, you're in that glow, you're in that groove. And your life, what do you look like in the mirror? What do you feel like? How much money's coming in? Like, pretend it's a year rather than trying to look ahead. Sometimes we're so damn busy, we have a dust cloud around us, right? Like, we're just trying to handle so much, it's hard to set goals. So pretend it's a year, it's the best year of your life, and just start writing stuff down. And then all of a sudden circle the top ones. And that's really your destination. That can give you part of your vision, part of the clarity of where you want to go. So all the stuff I'm telling you, the reason I loop this so big is when you know where you want to go, then all of a sudden it's easier to say no to the things that don't serve your bigger future. Right? If it's not on that list of your perfect life a year from now, then why are you hanging out with your friends talking about negativity? With that group of people that make you feel sad. You're working on that business that hasn't made you money in 10 years and you're not happy with it. Time to shut it down. Time to get rid of that boss that's been making you feel bad about yourself, or that employer or that employee that works for you that makes you feel bad every day. Let it go. Like when you look at that perfect life, if it doesn't fit, it's either a no or get rid of it, right?
Are you sick and tired of struggling to get your career to where you want it to be? Working with the right coach can be a life-changing experience, and Bernardo Moya is changing lives all over the world. Learn how to create revenue streams, attract higher qualified clients consistently, market your brand, and promote your business to a global audience. Bernardo is one of the biggest names in the world of personal development. He is an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, and a founder and chief inspirational officer of the Best You Corporation. So fast track your career now.
Hey, hi, Bernardo here. So we're back on the main stage, day one of the Best You Expo. We've had a phenomenal lineup of speakers since the beginning. And well, one of the things we've been highlighting is the fact that we are live on the Best You TV. So we're live on Roku, Amazon, Apple. We're going to be available on the iOS and Google Play. So if you're a speaker, if you're a coach, if you're a trainer, if you have a brand and you're interested in getting involved in the Best You TV, this is the time to take action. There's never been a better opportunity to get involved in TV. Look, Netflix is growing to 400 million people. It's doubled from 2017. Why? Obviously, the pandemic has had something to do with it, but people want to watch what they want to watch when they want to watch it. So when someone asks me, what is the future of live events? Well, I'm saying, you know what the future of live events is? On demand. It will be. Live events will come back, there's no doubt, but live will stay with virtual and also become a hybrid, and it will and has to be available for people to watch it at a later date, because not everyone's going to be prepared to travel. Not everyone's going to be prepared to watch your event whenever you want to watch it. So if you have a brand, if you're interested in finding a platform where you can talk about your products, you might be able to talk about your nutritional products. You might be able to want to talk about the t-shirts or the marketing tools or the web page that you developed, whatever it is that you've done. The Best You TV, and TV is the future. So we're very, very excited, and we've got some great people joining us that believe in the same things that we do. I believe that we need a personal development platform, a TV, that really provides not only inspiration, but also provides great documentaries, films, and movies that can really inspire the younger and the future generation. And that's what the Best You TV is about. So we are doing this with other people. We can't do it on our own. We don't want to do it on our own. So that's why we've come up with the best TV, the best series, and the best within the best TV, we have the best series. And the best series, we have the best coaches, the best speakers, the best authors, the best mentors. Now, those are four different programs, which will have 20, we will highlight 20 of those experts, coaches, trainers, speakers, and mentors. And we're going to be interviewing them, highlighting them, and talking about their great work. But apart from that, we're going to have channels. We're going to have people that will have their channel. Like, it could be your channel, the I Am Amazing channel. It could be the Bernardo channel, whatever it is that we want. We have opportunities for you to be able to get involved. You might want to sponsor. You might want to advertise. So I'm going to be sharing some of the people that already share our vision, share our dream, and are going to want to get involved or are already involved. And you might want to get involved too. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a very quick commercial about the Best TV series. Now, the Best TV series, as I said, is aimed at coaches, trainers, speakers, and authors. So we're looking. Do you have what it takes for you to become one of those best speakers, best coaches, best authors? Can we highlight your amazing career and what you do? Could we put that at the forefront of customers and clients that are interested in maybe working, collaborating with you, where you can promote your courses, where you can promote your books, your products, whatever it is that you want? That is what these series are about. So let me just show you very quickly the Best TV series.
People from all over the world are seeking inspiration, looking for answers, looking for ways to become the best version of themselves. And The Best You is launching in 2021 the Best TV series, a place where we will feature the best speakers, coaches, authors, and mentors. Leaders in their own rights, innovators, influencers, inspirers of the 21st century. Coming soon to The Best You TV.
So that's one of our series. We've also got, we've already got quite a few people that already have a channel on The Best You TV. So apart from our own content, and we've got the Best You Expo talks, hundreds and hundreds of talks from all the experts that we've had speaking over the years, Jim Quick, Mastin Kipp, Marie Diamond, basically Jack Canfield, Les Brown, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. We also have Inspiring People interviews. We have Inspiring People talks. We have NLP live talks. So that's content that we have hundreds and hundreds of hours available for you right now at your fingertips. You can go and watch it. But we're also going to have channels from leading experts. And one of the ones that we already have on the Best You TV is Dr. Fabs. Now, Dr. Fab has a show that's called Thriving in the New Normal. Dr. Fabrizio Mancini is a great motivational speaker, coach, who is literally half Colombian, who's been brought up in Texas, Dallas, very well connected in the personal development industry, who knows pretty much anyone and everyone, very loved individual, done a lot of stuff with Jack Canfield, with Dr. Phil. Now, he has his own series already on the Best You TV. And it's, as I said, it's called Thriving in the New Normal. Let's just show you very quickly his show.
We are living in unprecedented and uncertain times. Thriving in the New Normal is my new TV show created just for you. Are you aware that while most people are surviving during this new normal, others are thriving like never before? Which one are you? Circumstances have never defined the person. Our responses do. What if you could experience the thoughts and behaviors of some of the most successful people in the world and how they have chosen to respond? Let us help you become the person you were destined to be and not just your current reality. You deserve it. Get ready to thrive. Watch my show now on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Google Play.
So, very excited. We're honored to have him there. And one of the shows that is going to be coming up in the next couple of months is Mas Sadati. Now, Mas Sadati is he's a phenomenal influencer. He has a massive following all over the world. And his brand, or a lot of the stuff that he does, is called Exponential Intelligence. Now, as I said, he has a massive following, and we're very, very excited to have his show. So his show, the Mas Sadati show, is going to be on the Best You TV very, very soon. So let me just show you a very quick commercial. You get a little feel of him if you don't know who he is.
My passion is to set people free by helping you transform any area of your life more effectively and faster than anything you've tried before. I do this by unique abilities gifted to me through 2 near-death experiences that allow me to help you change your frequency, changing your life.
So very excited to have Mas on the Best You TV. He's going to be speaking here at the Best You Expo, so he's going to be joining us on Saturday. So make sure that you watch his talk. Great, everyone loves it. Lots of people connect from all over the world to watch his talk. And then we have a lady that I met just very briefly, I think like 3-4 weeks ago. But we were introduced by a lovely lady, mutual friend, Doria Cordova, and she introduced me to Nicola Smith Jackson. Now, Nicola Smith Jackson is an expert that helps people all around the world to find financial independence. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. I think a lot of people have actually realized how important it is to be financially independent, not living on the paycheck, not living on the monthly, payment that's going to come through, hopefully, and hopefully you don't lose your job. So having that financial independence where you've got some money saved, where you could just literally live if you had to, like this, for a couple of years and no problem, where you can invest in stock, you can understand the best way of doing it. That's what she does. She's a powerhouse. She has a proven track record, has a massive following. So Nicola Smith Jackson, she's going to be on the Best You TV. And this is a very quick snippet of what her show is going to be all about. So I've seen this. There's a lot of people in the personal development world which are great. They've got fantastic expertise, but then they're not financially independent. And it's not something you want to be doing when you're getting to the later part of your life. And, Johan from UK Health Radio was talking about obviously the importance of health. And if you're not healthy, well, listen, having or being wealthy is important because then it gives you the potential opportunity to be able to take care of yourself. So the Best You TV, it's all happening. It's all a reality, and we're very excited about it. I hope you join us. I hope you download the apps. As I said, we're going to be available on the iOS very soon. Now, we're going to be playing a quick commercial, 5 minutes. I'm going to be back, and then I'm going to be introducing my next guest, which is someone that I admire deeply. He's called the Super Coach. You're not going to want to miss his talk. He's got great energy, but he's such a lovely man, such a great heart. Michael Neal will be joining me on the hour. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Then I heard about this thing called the Ocean 7. So this came out by a chap called Steve Munatones, who's very well respected in the open water swimming world, and he said these are the hardest 7 swims on the planet. He gave reasons why, and I thought, well, that would be a great challenge. You've done those 2. And Hawaii was on there, and I thought, what a great swim. Hawaii must be easier than the other 2. It's much warmer, it's Hawaii. So I took that on next, and that was the longest of all the 7, 26 miles, English Channel and Gibraltar around about 21 miles. So that's what I decided to take on. And I started around about 6 in the morning, and the reason I started at 6 in the morning, we met up at 3:30, was because we had to start in the light. We had to wait until it went light because of the sharks, because it's shark bound at the nocturnal, so we waited until it was light, and then I started to swim. And I got 8 hours in and thought, God, I can see land. I'm 2 miles from land after 8 hours. And the worst thing ever happened. The pilot said he's going to break the world record, which is 12 hours. And from there, I started to go faster, and I went backwards for 3 hours because of the currents. So I literally just went straight backwards and probably lost another 2 miles. 13 and a half hours in, it started to go dark, and I had a light stick that's tied to me that, obviously, so they can see me. And I thought I better turn that off because of the sharks. And so I turned that off. And a kayaker actually came in off the boat to support me, for the sharks. And within 2 minutes of him coming in, I then had the most horrific pain that I've ever felt in my life, which I didn't know what it was at the time. And it turned out to be a Portuguese man-of-war. It left terrible scarring across my stomach, but I lost feeling in my spine. I started to, again, be really, really sick. And all I could think was, if you're going to paralyse me, at least let me finish this flipping swim because I've just been out here 13.5 hours. Anyway, in the end, it took me 17 hours, finished, cut my leg on a rock, and the kayaker said, wow, he said, you see that tiger shark? It was 5 meters away from you when you walked out. So that was not the most pleasant experience, it's fair to say. And
was that the worst you've had out of all of them?
Yeah, I've had some pretty difficult times, but I think that was the worst for the sheer pain that I was in. And when I was actually stung, it was, how do you get through 3.5 hours of agony?
How do you?
I knew you could ask me that. Again, experience says you've got through 2 of them. This is another challenge. And I thought to myself, look, Adam, if you can get through this, you can get through anything. This is a real test. What are you capable of? And I guess, most people would get out and quit once they have that kind of pain and go to hospital, which is what you should do. But it was too important to me. I thought about, again, how far I'd travelled, how much effort I'd put in, the fact that I may not have another chance to do this ever again. And I thought, just stay with the programme, and all these devils, and there was lots of devils this time, all around my brain telling me to give up. And I said to the kayaker, how long to go? And he said an hour at the time. I thought, I can't do 2 minutes here. And what I did was I built up lots of 2 minutes. I can do 2 minutes, fine. I can do another 2 minutes, another 2 minutes. It was supposed to take an hour, and it went on for 3.5 of all those 2 minutes added up, which is a lot of 2 minutes. But I remember standing on the beach in disbelief of how I'd got through it. But it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because now, what else could get me? It can't get much worse than that.
Best You Store, helping you do more, achieve more, be more. Store.thebestyou.co.
Hey, we're back. It's day one, the Best You Virtual Expo in London. Now, my next speaker, my next guest is someone, as I said, is very dear to me, someone that I trained with when I was in my infancy in NLP. It was my first NLP training, my NLP practitioner, and it was with Paul McKenna, Dr. Richard Bandler, and Michael Neill. And I still remember him running up and down the stage saying, Phobia Day. We had a Phobia Day. So that's the anchor that Michael left me. But apart from that, he left me with great feelings because, it was my first encounter with NLP, but he brought that beautiful, soft approach that he has to teaching you things without you even realizing. And I've just got beautiful, fond memories of what a great coach he is. And he went to build a great relationship with Paul McKenna over the years, and obviously then work and write so many great books and become probably, if not one of the best coaches on the planet. So Michael Neill is an international renowned transformative coach and the best-selling author of 6 selling books, including Super Coach, Creating the Impossible, The Inside Out Revolution, and The Space Within. Michael is often described as a coach's coach and commands extraordinary respect within his field for unleashing the human potential with intelligence, humor, and heart. He spent the past 30 years as a coach, advisor, friend, mentor, and creative spark plug of celebrities, CEOs, royalty, and people who want to get more out of themselves and their lives. He has been consistently ranked by the international research agency, globalgurus.org, as one of the top 30 coaching throughout leaders in the world. His TEDx talks, which is Why Aren't We Awesomer? And Can Talk Really Change the World? Can a TEDx talk really change the world? Have been viewed by nearly 2 million people, and his weekly blog and podcast, Caffeine Up for the Soul, is now in his 19th year. He was one of the first ones I remember who actually started creating a subscription model for his newsletter. And it's still going strong. His books have been translated into 24 languages, and his public talks, retreats, seminars, and online programs have touched and transformed lives at the United Nations and in over 60 countries and in 6 continents around the world. We have a lot of Michael's content on The Best You Online. So if you remember, I highly recommend you go in there and you can subscribe to TheBestYou.online, get your free 14 days. And there's a link to Michael Neal's content and courses. So let's bring Michael Neal, and I'm off. Thank you so much. The stage is his.
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Michael Neal, and I am delighted to be joining you here as part of the Best You. And albeit I'd prefer to be joining you, but we're gonna take what we can get. And Bernardo asked me, he said, what would you love to talk about? What do you think would be most helpful to people that you could speak to? And I sat with it. And at a certain point, it became obvious to me that the most useful thing that I probably could speak to you about are the 4 things that I've seen. I call them the 4 killers. I sometimes call them the 4 horsemen of the mental apocalypse, but for today, I'm going to call them the 4 killers. And these are the 4 states of mind, the 4 experiences that we have in our body that we tend to use to take ourselves out of the game, or to not even get into a game in the first place. Now, if you're wondering, well, I'm not playing a game, I'm using the game to mean anything from the game of life, to the game of business, to the game of relationships, to anything that you would take on and be a part of and throw yourself into in the world. So the problem that's been happening, that I've been seeing over the last year or so, since the pandemic hit and quarantines hit, and the world has changed, is that people are more willing than ever to take themselves out of the game, because everyone now agrees with you. Like, if you tried to drop out of the game when everything seemed to be kind of going well on the outside world, probably people would have talked you out of it. They were, oh, no, stick with it. Look, it's this, it's good, it's great. But now you go, I'm thinking of dropping out, and everybody's like, yeah, me too. Right? And what I'm hoping for, what I want for you, is that by the time we're done talking right now, the only reason you would take yourself out of the game is if you fundamentally knew you just didn't want to play anymore. Not that you couldn't, not that you shouldn't, but if you get really clean and clear that you want to go on and play different games, go for it. But I'm going to speak to you on the assumption that there are some games you're playing that if you felt like you could stay in the game, you'd really like to keep playing, regardless of the economy, regardless of the pandemic, and regardless of what else might be around the corner that we don't even know about yet. Now, one of the first models that I saw for performance came from the inner game coach, W. Timothy Galway. And it's a very simple formula. And it starts with a P for performance. And he said, performance equals potential minus interference. So our level of performance is our potential, which in the abstract is unlimited, but in any given game, there may be some limitations on it. If you have one leg and you want the game of playing Tarzan, you're starting at perhaps not the same potential as everybody else. But in most things, we're potential. And what I mean by effectively an unlimited potential is there might be an edge, but you're unlikely to get anywhere close to it. So if your level of performance is your potential minus interference, then the variable where we've got the most control is interference. If we can get things out of our way, if we can get out of our own way more readily and more easily, we automatically begin to perform at a higher level. And when we're performing at a higher level, we tend to enjoy the game more. And when we're enjoying the game and performing at a high level, we kind of want to stay in the game. So not only will these kind of 4 types of interference that I'm going to be sharing, these 4 killers, these 4 horsemen of the mental apocalypse, not only are they things that when you see through them, when you see past them, when they stop seeming like insurmountable problems, you're more inclined to stay in the game. You're less inclined to take yourself out of the game. You also play the game better. So the first one is fear. And there's a wonderful, I printed this off. This is from the book Dune by Frank Herbert. And you may have seen, there's been a few movie versions of it. And this is the litany against fear. And the warriors train themselves, and they recite this litany. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me, and when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to guess there have been times in the last week where you have felt fear. Now, maybe not, but it's a pretty safe guess, because most of us spend huge chunks of our life in fear, and particularly if we're high achievers, particularly if we're high performers, particularly if we play games that are bigger than us. And probably if you're doing a conference with something called The Best You, that's you. So probably you experience fear. Now, here's why fear is problematic when it's problematic. Most of us have been taught that fear is a signal that we either shouldn't do something or we must, right? If you've ever been on a Tony Robbins seminar, you've probably heard him say, if you can't, you must. But then for anyone who hasn't been on a Tony Robbins seminar, they just go, I'm scared, I'm out, right? I don't want to do it. Now, I used to cure phobias as part of my work. That was actually how I first met Bernardo, doing sort of these large NLP seminars with Paul McKenna and Richard Bandler. And one of the things we would do is we would take on phobias. We would take on people's fears. And I had a really interesting experience one day during one of these seminars. We were working with fear of public speaking, phobias of public speaking, because the people who were coming they weren't just like a little afraid. Like the very idea of public speaking made them want to vomit. Maybe that fits you. It actually fits a surprising amount of people. There's a great line that you probably have come across the research that in polls they found that the number 1 fear was public speaking, the number 2 fear was death, which, according to the comedian Jerry Seinfeld, meant that at any given funeral, most people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. But we were working with public speaking phobias. And Paul did, somebody came up and they were, how scared are you on a scale from 1 to 10? 10! And Paul worked with them and got the guy quite quickly down to a 3. Terrified to okay in a really short space of time. But then Paul, being kind of committed to this person, said, no, we're going to get you from a 3 down to a 1. And worked with him for another hour. And I don't know, honestly, if the guy really got down to a 1 or if he just got kind of sick of being up on stage after an hour and kind of went, yeah, I'm a 1. But what was interesting to me was I realized while I was watching this, hang on, I've been speaking publicly since I was a kid. Like I actually got through high school doing public speaking competitions, and I got a scholarship to university for public speaking, and it was something that I loved doing and I was good at. But I was always a little scared when I did it. I would probably, it's interesting. I had just sort of assumed that it's bad to feel fear at all. I hadn't seen that actually fear, once it's below a certain level, it's kind of irrelevant. It's like sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. No big deal. It shuts us down. Now, I want you to do a little experiment if you're up for it. And you might find it scary, but that's okay. It's something that if you're up for doing it, will give you a chance. I'm going to give you some background. So, well, actually, let me tell you what I'm going to ask you to do first. What I'm going to ask you to do in a minute is scare yourself. And there's a little more to the instructions, but I want you to scare yourself in a minute. You don't have to do it yet. But I want to point out before you do that there's no such thing as fear. Now, what do you mean by that? What does he mean by that? We've just been talking about fear. He's just been talking about he's got the mind killer. What do you mean there's no such thing as fear? Well, literally, outside of language, there's no such thing as fear. There's such a thing as a pen, right? There's such a thing as a microphone, but there's no such thing as fear. Fear is a word. It's a type of word that in transformational grammar is called a nominalization. It's an activity, a process that we talk about as if it's a thing. So the basic test in language for a nominalization is, can you put it in a wheelbarrow? So I can put a pen in a wheelbarrow. It has a limitation if you don't quite understand it, because I explained this to my son once and he said, well, wait, how big's the wheelbarrow? Because I can't fit a piano in a small wheelbarrow. No, it's abstract. We talk about these creations in ourselves, like fear, as if they're things. But fear is just the process of scaring ourselves. And the way that we scare ourselves is scary thoughts. And some of us are so good at it. We've done it so often over so long that we don't even notice that we're involved anymore. I'm not thinking, I just got scared. I just saw that and got scared. I just thought about a tiger and got scared. I just thought about. But the key is, you thought about it. And that's how we create this adrenaline rush that we call fear when we think it's caused by something we don't like. So, think it through for yourself, right? There are some kinds of adrenaline rush you pay money for, right? You probably have gone to scary movies and you've paid money to go on a roller coaster or a similar ride at an amusement park. Well, that's the same adrenaline rush. Why do we cultivate it there? Because we're up for it, because we kind of fundamentally know we're going to be okay. No matter how scary the movie is, it's really unlikely the monster's going to come off the screen and get us. No matter how scary the ride is, we kind of bank on the fact that the amusement park wouldn't stay open if the roller coaster kept actually coming off the tracks. So at some level, underneath all the scary thinking about, oh, what if this happens? We kind of know it's not going to happen. And so we're fine with fear. In fact, we almost chase after it. But if we think the cause is real, well, then we want to avoid it. So let's try the experiment. Okay, maybe you already did while I was talking, but if you didn't, take a minute right now to scare yourself. And you'll probably find it a little bit harder than you think, even if you're a scaredy cat like me. Like I've spent most of my life scared of my own shadow, but sometimes it's hard when you're trying to do it on purpose. But think of things that scare you until you get at least a bit of that feeling in your body. And what I want you to do when you get a bit of that feeling in your body is I want you to point to where in your body it is. Like for me, like I've just thought about money, right? That's a good one for me if I want to scare myself. I sometimes can scare myself with health or relationship, but money's a good one for me. And when I start thinking about money in a scary way, I can feel the back of my neck tighten up. Now, when you feel the sensations in your body of fear, I want you to point to it. But then what I want you to do is stop thinking about it and just stay with the sensation. And notice what happens. Now, nearly everybody I do this experiment with, A, can generate at least some amount of fear. But B, when they stay with the sensation, they notice that quite quickly, the sensation just begins to pass. It begins to pass through, like in the litany. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. That's the sensation of it. The thought passes through, the sensation passes through, and when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. We start to look and see, well, where did it go? I was scared a minute ago, or I felt the sensations of fear a minute ago. Where's it gone? And where the fear is gone, there will be nothing. Only I remain. And there's nothing because the fear is the add-on. The fear is what we've created on top of our fundamental okayness. That it comes at us, that it is a property of things in the world. Like this is scary, that is scary, this situation is scary, that situation is scary. We have no choice but to either be brave, feel the fear, and do it anyways, or try and avoid or manipulate the situation that we think is scary. When you start to see that all fear is made of thought, yourself, because you can just get in touch with the sensation of it, the feeling of it, and let it pass through. And when it passes through, only you remain. No fear. Now, but in me, I still got some. That's okay. You'll be okay. You've had fear in your body before, because it's not really fear in your body. It's adrenaline. Adrenaline's a funny old drug, right? Adrenaline will restart a heart that stopped. In an actual danger situation, adrenaline is your best friend. If there's actual danger, adrenaline lets you run faster, it makes you stronger, it sharpens your mind. But we tend to give ourselves these constant little doses of adrenaline. It's not like when there's a real danger and your biology takes over and deals with it. And if you've ever been in a life or death situation, I can almost guarantee you weren't shut down by it. You weren't limited down by it. It wasn't the mind killer. It freed you up. In fact, a lot of people think it feels amazing. But it's those little fears that we create throughout the day and attribute to things outside us, to people outside us, to situations outside us, that drags us down, that shuts us down, that shrinks our world down. And that's the kind of fear that in any moment you don't have to keep creating it. Sometimes you'll find yourself just scared. You won't have even noticed it happen. That's okay too, because then you can just feel it and it passes through. But more and more of the time, if you are willing to look away from all the things that you keep trying to attribute the fear to, and just go, well, what if it really is just thought? You don't need to identify the thought. You don't need to avoid the thought. You don't need a better thought. If you know it's thought, you know it'll pass. And if you know it'll pass, you don't really have to do anything about it. And if you're not scared of fear, then fear can't do anything to you. And it's easier to stay in the game. And there's less interference and more potential in your performance. So what's the second killer? Well, the second killer is stress. And I call stress the joy killer. Because stress is what takes the fun out of things. Right? There are probably things that when you first did them, you really enjoyed them. And then at a certain point, sometimes because you got good at them and you started kind of putting expectations on yourself, or other people started putting expectations on you, you started finding them stressful, and all the fun goes out of the game. But stress, like fear, doesn't exist. The feeling that we call stress, of course that exists. We all know that one. But there's no such thing as stress. You can't put stress in a wheelbarrow. Now that means we're creating it. So when we wind ourselves up, when we get busy-minded, we experience that as a feeling of stress. And then, like with fear, we look for what is it outside me that caused it. Oh, it's that that's stressful. It's that that's stressful. If you listen to the way people talk about stress, if you listen to yourself talk about stress, the model that most people seem to have is almost like germ theory. There are stress germs, and certain places and situations have more stress germs than other places and situations. And so, oh, you don't want to go there. That's really stressful. You're likely to catch stress if you go there. But here, like there's not much stress here. There's not many germs here, so you can safely do this. And so we kind of, if we think stress is a property of the world, that it's a thing out there that we can catch, we tend to shrink our world so that we experience less stress, or try and toughen up. So even though we're stressed, we're going to stay in the game. And that was definitely my story. So there was a time back in 2009, and my book Super Coach had come out, and I had been contacted by somebody who wanted to make a television program out of it. And she was one of the producers of Dr. Phil, which is a big show in America. And so we were filming a pilot for this, and I was working on my business, and I was just so busy-minded. I was trying to do so many things all at once, and I was in this constant state of stress. But I'd read that there's a wonderful Jim Rohn quote that I used to have up on my wall that said, "Don't wish it was easier, wish you were tougher." And that really appealed to something macho in me. And so I'm like, yeah, I can do this. And then one day I was going to fly up to see a client. And I came downstairs and my wife said, "What happened to your face?" I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" She said, "Well, look in the mirror." And I was like, half my face had kind of fallen down. And I thought, well, that's weird. But I was really busy and I had a lot to do, and I needed to walk the dogs before I went to the airport, before I went to see my client, so that I could make some calls, so that I could do this. So I'm walking the dogs, and I'm a little worried about it, but not too worried, because I'm like, well, look, I don't know where this came from, but I mean, they can film me from this side. And anyways, I do a lot of radio, and it doesn't matter what my face looks like for radio. And I was so busy. It didn't even occur to me that there might actually be something wrong. And I got on the airplane and flew to see my client, and I was with my client for we tried to keep working, and they finally said, "Look, can you do me a favor?" And I said, "What?" And they said, "Can you let me take you to the hospital, because you're freaking me out?" And I'm like, "Oh, fine." And we go to the hospital, and it's not until we get to the hospital and they rush me, they look at me and they go, "Come with us." And they rush me into the hospital that it even occurs to me for the first time, maybe something's wrong. Now, as it happened, it wasn't a stroke, which is what everybody was concerned about. It was something called Bell's palsy, and Bell's palsy is stress-related, and because we caught it right at the beginning, it's also quite treatable, and so it never really became a thing. But it did serve as a wake-up call, because up until that moment, I had thought the thing you do with the joy killer, the thing you do about stress, is get tougher, get more stress hardiness. And what I actually started to see is, now this is just not helpful. This is just a feeling that, to the extent that I have any say in it, I don't want in my world. Now, had it looked like stress was a function of the world and I didn't want stress, I'd have to avoid the world. If stress is a function of the game, well, then I'd have to just drop out of the game. But because I kind of knew stress is made of thought, we get very busy-minded and we feel stressful. We get very wound up and we feel tight. Kind of like a tetherball, if you've ever played tetherball, where the more wound up it gets, the tighter it gets, and then it takes a little while to unwind. Well, that's us. But it's not our activity, and it's not the world, it's our thoughts. And when we get wound up in our thoughts, when they get going too fast, we feel stress. Now, when you know that, when you see that's you, that's not a function of the world, It's not that you caught stress germs and that if you go somewhere else, there won't be stress germs. It's literally when your thought speed gets going really fast, when you have a high rev internally, you feel stress. But here's what's kind of fun. You don't need a high rev to get a lot done. You don't need to be all wind up in here in order to manage multiple things. In fact, it's much easier when you're not going a million miles a minute in here. And so stress, like fear, you don't have to get tougher. You don't have to avoid the world or control the world. You don't even have to control your thinking as like, was that a good thought? Is that a bad thought? Because that just kind of adds to the muddle. You can literally take your foot off the gas. And in the same way as in a car, like if you had the tachometer, the revolutions per minute, and you're revving it, and you're revving it, and you're revving it, you don't need to slam on the brakes. You don't need to stop doing stuff. You don't need to drop out of your life. You don't need to drop out of the game. You just take your foot off the gas internally, and your mind will automatically settle. And when it settles, you're back to your best. When the interference of a busy mind isn't so active, more of your potential is showing up in your performance. So again, you may feel stress from time to time, but that's okay. It's just another set of body sensations. It doesn't mean anything about the world, and it actually can almost become a helpful signal. Because when you start to feel stressed, you can kind of go, ooh, I'm wound up. I want to back off this a little bit and get down to a kind of a healthy rev, a flow. Right? We talk about flow states as being what everybody's after in performance. Well, flow is the speed of life. It's not the speed of thought. Thought, generally speaking, is going much faster than life is. In fact, just an interesting aside, one of the most interesting things I've seen about thought speed is that boredom is what life looks like. Life looks boring when your head is going faster than the speed of life. When you slow down to the speed of life, life is fascinating. Life is filled with flow. It's almost like if you're running on a travelator, if you've ever seen those kind of moving walkways, if you're running faster than the travelator, it seems like it's not moving and it's all on you. If you slow down even a little, you start to feel yourself being carried. And that's how it is in life. To get into the flow of life, you just need to let your thoughts slow down. And then life catches up and moves you forward. What's the third mind killer, the third horseman of the mental apocalypse? Well, it's pressure. The third way that I see people again and again and again take themselves out of the game or get in the way, get in their own way, limit their effectiveness and their impact is through putting pressure on themselves. Now, as it happens, I came here from the golf course, and I was talking to this young pro who, well, he's a 21-year-old guy who is trying to turn pro. And we just happened to be playing together. And he was asking me about pressure. He said, because his coach has been telling him that he needs to learn to, get better at handling pressure. And when I said to him, there's no such thing as pressure, he looked at me like I was nuts, as maybe you're doing now. I don't know. One of the beauties of this is I have no idea. I can just make up that, pressure is this thing that we do. We press on ourselves. We pile expectations on top of ourselves and then wonder why we feel pressure. But in the performance world, a lot of people think, well, pressure's good. Because pressure, squeezes the best out of me. Well, I think pressure does often squeeze the best out of us and leaves it like old toothpaste on the ground. In other words, if the pressure that you're putting on yourself and maybe attributing to the situation, but is helping you stay focused, great. But almost everybody I know presses too hard and creates tension. And tension is the enemy of performance. In a sport, it's obvious. Like, so in golf, somebody tenses up, the ball just goes anywhere but where they're aiming it. But mental tension, mental stress, mental pressure squeezes the ideas out of our head. It makes it hard to think. And the very time where we need our most creative thinking, it seems like we've got the smallest aperture through which a new idea could come. And so I talk about pressure as the creativity killer, because when we put that pressure on ourselves, when we squeeze our minds with lots and lots of thoughts about, oh yeah, you got to do this, or else. It turns out most of us don't do really well with a gun to our head. One of my colleagues worked with an all-star in the National Hockey League. And this guy was one of the top scorers in the league at the time that he was working with him. And this guy had been taught, as most of us were taught, that pressure is an important part of performance, and it comes from the game. It comes from the moment. So you need to learn to handle it. And this coach was telling this player, actually, no. Actually, pretty much all the pressure people put on themselves creates tension and puts them off their game. And the player's like, I don't buy that. And he said, okay, if I put a puck on center ice and an empty net and asked you to make 10 shots, how many of them would go in the net? The guy said 10. And he said, okay, what if I put a gun to your head and said, I'm going to shoot you if you miss? And the guy said, well, 9. And he said, okay, what if I put a gun to your children's heads? And the guy just went, I don't know. But he could see that this myth that A, pressure is good for you, and B, it's inevitable, wasn't helpful. Like fear, like stress, there's no such thing as pressure, but we can create the sensations of it by trying to pile this expectation onto us that we've got to do this and we've got to do this and we've got to perform at this level and this level and this level and this level. And the weight of the pressure that we're piling on ourselves just makes us tense. It kills our creativity. It creates tension in our body. It interferes with our performance. And it exhausts us. And when you're exhausted and you're not doing well, you tend to not really be that excited about staying in the game. But when you're not exhausted and there's no pressure, we all perform pretty well. So what I'm saying is, fear, stress, and pressure don't exist outside of the mind. They don't exist in nature. They don't help with performance. In fact, they hinder. And they don't come from the world. They come from thought. They come from us. Now, I'm not saying you're sitting there doing it on purpose, unless, like with fear, you are sitting there doing it on purpose. And by the way, you can try that with stress and pressure as well if you want to. But what I am saying is, it is coming through you. Now, no big deal if you're feeling it. It's just sensation in the body. Focus on the sensation. It'll dissipate. But you don't have to keep doing it. Like one of the oldest jokes in the book. Doctor, it hurts when I do this. Doctor says, don't do it. Well, if we're pressuring ourselves and stressing ourselves and scaring ourselves and it's getting in the way, we don't have to keep doing it. The second we notice that we're doing it, we can stop. And if you're thinking, well, how do I stop? How is it that you're not punching yourself in the face right now? And my guess is your answer is, I don't know. Why would I punch myself in the face? Exactly. When pressuring yourself and stressing yourself and scaring yourself looks as pointless and painful as punching yourself in the face, it will be equally easy to not do it. Now, there's one more killer. We're not done yet. And this is the one I call the dream killer. And the dream killer is discouragement. We are extraordinarily well trained at discouraging ourselves, at talking ourselves out of things, at convincing ourselves that our efforts are pointless because, it's not going to work out anyways. And then we collect up all the times things haven't worked, examples from other people's lives, examples in our lives, and we save them up so that we can use them as ammo, so we can take ourselves out of the game by discouraging ourselves. So what I'm going to invite you to consider is the possibility that you could become discouragement proof and fear proof and pressure proof and stress proof. And that is in fact what happens when you see how fear is created, how stress is created, how pressure is created, and how discouragement is created. So how do you become discouragement proof? Well, you've probably figured it out by now. If discouragement is not something that exists in the world, it's not something that exists outside you, it is something that is created as a feeling in thought, well, you can start to catch wise to it. You can start to notice yourself taking yourself out of the game, discouraging yourself, giving yourself all this evidence about why there's no point and why it can't happen and why there's no hope. Hope's not a strategy. Well, if you've ever read the books, The Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, and I don't mean the movies because it's not quite as obvious in the movies, but in the books, Tolkien does an amazing job of talking about hope and discouragement. And the white magicians, the Gandalfs, Gandalf the Grey, the good magicians, they give hope. That is white magic. They touch the person feels hope in their heart, and they find courage, encourage, in courage, in the heart. They find heart, they take heart, and they come back and they win the battle. And the dark wizards take away hope. They put discouraging thoughts in people's heads, and people go, what's the point? And even the greatest warrior without hope barely fights. Because what's the point? It's too much work to even lift my arms to fight. I'm going to die anyways. Now I kind of have a thing on this one. I don't know if you can tell. But like fear, pressure, and stress, yeah, they suck and they get in the way. And you do better when you don't scare yourself and pressure yourself and stress yourself. Discouragement's subtler. Most people have never even really thought about that one. But I can tell you, for me, discouragement's the big one. Because if you've discouraged yourself well, you're kind of already out of the game, even if you're still playing. But if you rediscover the power of hope, if you start to realize that no matter how many times you have tried and it hasn't worked, you're if anything, better off than you were before you started, not worse off, right? You will never, one of my mentors says, and I love this line, you will never know this little again. You will never be this bad at something that you're working on again. So in fact, hope is more realistic than discouragement. But putting that to one side, if something hurts and you are the one doing it, you don't have to keep doing it. And discouragement hurts. It's a subtler hurt. It's a more lethargic feeling. It's a less of a sharp feeling than sometimes stress and fear and pressure. But discouragement is the one that will take us out of the game. And the one guarantee in life is that if you don't play, you can't win. So, if you're wondering sort of, well, okay, that's a lot, what do I do with that? Well, here's some really good news. You really don't have to do much of anything with it, because your potential is already there. Underneath all the interference of all the scary thinking and pressured thinking and stressful thinking and discouraging thinking, you're as good as new. You're as good as you were day one of whatever the game that you're playing is. In fact, you're probably better at the game, but you're as good in yourself. There's a distinction that my friend Dr. Robert Holden and I shared in a program over the last year. We created a program called Spiritual Resilience, and we ran it throughout the first 9 months of the pandemic. And the distinction between what we were calling spiritual resilience and the way that most people think of resilience is most people think of resilience as mental toughness, right? If I just tough enough, I'll tough it out. I might be a little battered and bruised, but I'll make it out the other side, right? It's the sort of Christmas orange model of resilience, right? I may be, I keep throwing the orange against the wall and it's thick-skinned, so it still looks like it's okay, even if it's a little battered and bruised on the inside and the juice has begun to run out and it's kind of gone off a little. That's not resilience. That's taking your lumps. True resilience is the recognition that no matter what you've gone through, your spirit is untouched. It's the recognition that our true nature is more like a mirror than an orange. A mirror can reflect horrific images 24/7 and is no worse off than it was before it reflected any of them. It can reflect beautiful images 24/7 and is no better off than it was before. The mirror of our nature is perfect and whole as it was the day you were born, no matter what you have gone through, no matter what dark thoughts you have thought, dark feelings you have felt, dark experiences you have experienced, dark circumstances you have encountered. You're as good as new. And when we aren't discouraging ourselves, scribbling discouraging things onto the mirror, when we're not pressuring ourselves, putting tons of expectation on the mirror, if we're not stressing ourselves, just revving up the mirror and writing it all over it and scribbling and scribbling and scribbling, if we're not frightening ourselves, scaring ourselves, we're just there. We're just here. And we all do really well when we're present. We all do really well when we don't have too much on our mind, or at worst, we don't pay too much attention to what we have on our mind. We just get on and play the games we want to play. The game of relationship, the game of business, the game of life. So, I hope you find that helpful. If you want to learn more, come check me out. I think Bernardo put some stuff around this, but you can always find me online at michaelneal.org. And until we get a chance to either meet again or meet for the first time, have fun, learn heaps, and thanks for listening. Bye-bye for now.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation from Michael Neal. Love Michael. He's always so deep and so wise in his words, and you feel so comfortable and confident, and everything makes sense. So he's just a breath of fresh air, a very generous man with a lot of knowledge, great coach. So I highly recommend that you follow Michael and follow all the amazing information, tips, advice, trainings that he has. As I said, we have some of his content on thebestyou.online as well. But if not, obviously Google Michael Neal and the Genius Catalyst. But anyway, I want to thank Michael so much for this presentation. We've got a couple of, we're going to be back here on the hour. I want to thank you so much for day one of the Best You Expo. We've still got a great speaker joining us, Barbie Layton, who's going to be joining us literally within the next 5-10 minutes. And after that, hey, we've got a couple of more days with amazing speakers still organized for you. So thank you so much. See you in a minute.
What's the best way of somebody managing time?
Well, I don't know if we ever manage time. I think we manage our actions in time because we all have the same amount of time. We call it time management, but it's really our activity management. If a person was to sit down and write down everything that they do in a day and make a comprehensive list of everything that they do in a day within possibly a month, each days of the month, what do they do? And then next to it, put down another column next to it. What is the productivity per hour? How much does it produce per hour economically? And next to that, another column that's how much meaning of inspiration does it provide? And next to that, what is the cost of replacement? If I was to delegate it to somebody, what would I have to pay to have them do that? And next to that, another column is how much time is spent. If we put those 4 columns together against all the things that we do in a day, we'll find out that in most cases, most people that are less productive are doing low priority things. They're majoring in minors and minoring in majors. They're doing less priority things and not the most productive or most meaningful things. But by going through and doing an inventory of that and identifying what really produces economically and what is really meaningful, usually the thing that produces is something that serves others. What's meaningful, it serves ourselves. Finding a balance of those meaningfulness as in the things that are most productive allows us to earn more income to delegate to lower priority activities. Once we delegate to lower priority activities, we get way more done. We feel way more fulfilled. We have a greater self-worth and net worth, and we're able to free ourselves up for creative thinking with the executive center in our brain instead of having to live in frustrations with our amygdala. So we actually activate our angelic mind, as I call it, instead of our animal mind. This is the most productive and most powerful day we can make. So prioritizing our day every day and living by high priorities is key. Parkinson's law states that if we don't fill our day with high priority actions that inspire us, it's going to keep filling up with low priority distractions that don't.
Tell me about where does inspiration come from?
Well, whenever you're setting goals that are aligned to your highest values, the things that are most priority, most important to you, you're spontaneously inspired from within, like a calling from within to act. Nobody has to ever remind me or motivate me or incentivize me to get up and research and write every day and to teach every day. I love doing that. I can't wait to do it. And whenever you're doing things that are high in your values, you can't wait to do it. And when you can't wait to do something that inspires you, people can't wait to get your inspiration. But whenever you're doing something lower on your values, because you'll procrastinate, hesitate, and frustrate in doing it in comparison to higher values, you'll need motivation and drive and incentives to get you to do it. And you're more avoiding pain and seeking pleasure in that mode. So I always say I'd rather fill my day with inspirations than have to live my life through having to be motivated from the outside. Motivation is a symptom, never a solution. Inspiration is the fulfillment of life.
But is it not difficult for people that maybe have just kind of like a mundane job? Is it not difficult sometimes maybe for them to find inspiration if they're just trying to bring a living in? Actually,
if they have never taken the time to identify the job description that they have and identify what's really truly high on their value, and then identify how specifically those activities are going to help them fulfill their highest value, they're going to have a mundane job. But it's never what happens to them. It's never what they're going through. It's their perception of it. William James, the father of modern psychology, said that the greatest discovery of his generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their perceptions and attitudes of mind. So if we take the time and ask the simple question, how specifically is the job duty I'm doing right now going to help me fulfill what is most meaningful, most inspiring, my highest priority, my highest value in my life, my purpose in life? If I ask that question and don't give myself excuses for not answering it, and just keep asking and answering that question over and over again, eventually my mind will see the blessing in it and see things on the way, not in the way. And the same job that seemed to be mundane is now inspiring. And the more you become engaged and the more you be fulfilled in the job. And when you're doing something that's meaningful, you look forward to the job and you're not trying to escape it with tea and coffee and internet distractions or spectators, things, or etc. And you're engaged, you're more productive. You get more promotions, more opportunities, and you're more likely to get more income and eventually more entrepreneurial opportunities.
Are you sick and tired of struggling to get your career to where you want it to be? Working with the right coach can be a life-changing experience, and Bernardo Moya is changing lives all over the world. Learn how to create revenue streams, attract higher qualified clients consistently, market your brand, and promote your business to a global audience. Bernardo is one of the biggest names in the world of personal development. He is an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, and a founder and chief inspirational officer of the Best You Corporation. So fast track your career now. The Best You Store, helping you do more, achieve more, be more. Store.thebestyou.co.
So this was you going out one night, very uncomfortable with the girls, and you said there's got to be something more comfortable that we could wear, and you came up with the idea of developing or creating something that you had no experience with.
That's right. I went to a dinner dance and I was wearing a very uncomfortable cleavage bra, and I thought, why should women go through all this pain for a tiny bit of gain? And I took the bra off in the toilets. It was that uncomfortable. And I went back to the table with all of my friends and I said, I'm going to invent a bra, start a business on Monday. And they said, but what do you know about bras? You haven't been to college, you haven't been to university. And I says, well, I've got a pair of boobs and I'll work it out. That's what I did. For 3.5 years of my life, I invented Ultimo, the first world gel fill bra. And I went to the Prince's Trust and they gave me some help and they gave me a mentor as well. And, you know, thousands of prototypes later from playing around with the bra, and I wanted to, with the first gel fill bra, I wanted to create basically a boob job bra. And 3.5 years later, I got all my friends and family into my bedroom and I asked my Auntie Joan to try it on first. And she says, well, why me? I said, well, if I can give you a cleavage, it will be a miracle. So she went in and she came out of the bathroom and she had a massive cleavage. And that's when I went down to Selfridges, the department store. I've always been told by my mum and dad, you know, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what education you managed to get, it doesn't matter the colour of your skin, your religion. If you have that dream, passion, determination, can-do attitude, you can achieve anything that you want to achieve. And they've always taught me to think big. So I thought, well, I could go to small boutiques and I could sell my range through there, but minimum order quantities is going to be a massive issue for me. So I just turned up to the buying office in Selfridges, the biggest, most prestigious department store in the UK, and I didn't have an appointment. I just had a bag of bras. And I said, I'm here to see the buyer. And she says, do you have an appointment? And I said, no. And she says, well, you won't get to see her. And I said, well, you don't understand. This is 3.5 years of my life in this bag. I'm heavily pregnant with my third baby. I'm £480,000 in debt. And this is the best cleavage bra ever. I need to see the buyer now. The buyer came down and tried the bra on and boom, I got into Selfridges. So I suppose when I'm mentoring people in business, I say to them, you know, you've got to approach people, you've got to get yourself out there. Don't sit on your backside and wait for them to come to you, because it ain't going to happen.
Sure. Many, many, many years from now, what would you like your legacy to be?
I would just love to inspire as many people as possible, especially from deprived areas, for them to look up to me and say, well, if she's managed to do it, to build these successful brands and, you know, get an OBE and in the House of Lords and everything else, and she's from an area where we live in, then we can do it too. There ain't no secret. You know, if you just work hard, I always say the harder you work, the luckier you become.
Now, the Best You Personal and Professional Development Virtual Expos are happening globally in 2021. Whether you want to speak, exhibit, or attend, these are online events for all those passionate about living a better life, creating a better world, gaining greater mindfulness and meaning in these new times, and becoming the best version of themselves. Book your speaking slot, your virtual booth, and get tickets to attend now.
Welcome back. Day one, the Best You Virtual Expo in London. And look, it's been an amazing day. It's been an amazing day, and we have so much still planned for you in the next couple of days. It's going to be, well, as always, an inspirational opportunity for you to engage, meet so many great individuals. But we're bringing you all sorts of things, from podcasting to how to create revenue with trading and cryptocurrency, how to become a great motivational speaker, how to manage your brand, how to grow your brand. We're bringing you information about coaches and trainers that are getting involved in the Best You TV series. We've got Matt Sadadi, who's going to be sharing, well, ideas around exponential intelligence. There's so many great opportunities and so many great things we bring you. And look, I love what we do. I love the ripple effect that this might have. Someone that inspires you, and it triggers something in your mind that gets you onto a path of well, going out there and kicking some global derriere, because as I've been saying, we need it. We need motivational speakers. We need thinkers, leaders that are going to go and transform the new reality. So one of the people, my next guest, which is Barbie Layton, I'm going to do the brief intro quickly and then I'll bring her in. So Barbie has been someone who's been a big fan of the Best You for quite some time now, as well, literally spoken on all our platforms, and we're delighted that she's here on the main stage today. So Barbie, after 2 decades of successfully working a traditional job in the United States and South Korea, Barbie did the soul searching that many of us have done. And well, basically, she's currently doing this through the pandemic. She received an MA from the world famous University of Santa Monica in spiritual psychology in 2006 with the Professor Ron and Mary Hulnick, and participated in their Cannes Film Festival, winning a documentary as a counselor to women serving life sentences, as a humanitarian counselor to women who serve life sentences with a degree in spiritual psychology. Barbie is helping people manifest wealth, health, dream homes, dream lives, dream jobs, and basically, and obviously, to avoid all sorts of bad things happening to you. So, Barbie, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Barbie. I love the title of your talk, which I'll let you say it, and then I will reinforce it.
Well, it's basically, if 2020 didn't break you, how can 2021 make you?
Absolutely. I love that, and I'm right behind you, because I think we were discussing that previously. I think 2020 was a year of, hey, you know, this is a new reality, and we're learning a lot of new things, and it looks like this is here to stay. Yeah. And how are we going to not only make the best of it, but how are we going to become such better persons, individuals? How are we going to make the world a better place? And I love this idea that 2021, I'm very excited, 2021 and 2022, I think the next 2 years are going to be revolutionary in so many different ways. So, and you're a visionary yourself, so you can see things. So I'm right behind you.
Well, I liked what you said about kicking the global derriere. That's a tagline you should be using more often in 2021.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, listen, we're honored to have you here, Barbie. Thank you so much. Thank you for your love and support, and the stage is yours.
My pleasure. Thank you. All right. Welcome. I'm so happy to see you here on the main stage. One of the things that's so amazing about people's journey is that sometimes instead you can look at people and be like, oh, what are they doing? Why am I not doing that? But instead, you know what? No, actually, that's not true. You can look at it and go, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it too. So just to let you know, I was one of those people that, you know, signed up in March for my ticket in person in Los Angeles. The event got canceled, etc. But ultimately, Bernardo was able to pivot in such a beautiful way to all of these virtual platforms. And I signed up in July, and they said, well, you know, we're going to have 5 in the next year. So what do you think? Sign me up, sign me up, sign me up. So 2020 was my complete year of saying yes. I was part of Christy Marie Sheldon's private group, part of Vishen Lakhiani's think tank premium coaching group. Shout out to all the Christy Marie Sheldon people and the Mind Valley people. I joined Gianna Marsico's Archangel Academy, the Dreamer Circle, with watching Bernardo through all of the pandemic and the ups and downs and everything else, etc. And so ultimately, and then Lisa Nichols, but ultimately watching all these people's journey was so informative, because ultimately you can decide, how do you want to live your life? So I heard somebody say something really, really cool, and I never want to take credit for something that other people say, but they said, who do you want to be when you step out of this COVID chrysalis? And I just want you to take that in for a second. Who do you want to be when you step out of this COVID chrysalis? So if you imagine the idea that you're a butterfly, there's a beautiful story about the emperor moth. And the emperor moth is one of the most beautiful animals and creatures on this planet. And scientists saw that there was a chrysalis that was really, really painful, and it had to push and go through all of these different things to be able to get itself out. But when it came out, it was gorgeous. So scientists said, you know what? Let's shorten the length of that, and let's shorten the destination, and let's see whether or not this emperor moth, we can help it out a little bit. So they took scissors, they cut a little bit on the side of the chrysalis, etc. Didn't work. The emperor moth came out completely deformed, because unfortunately it had to go through that ass kicking. It had to go through that process to be able to get to that next level. So I want you to keep that in mind when we're talking about the things that I'm going to bring forward for you this particular talk. And again, I'm so excited to be here on the main stage. I started out in the Empowering Women section in Los Angeles virtually back in August, and then went on to Dallas, and then went on to upgrading to the Master Mentors and Influencers in Miami. And now here I am on the main stage. Absolutely thrilled to be here with you guys. But again, like I said, don't look at it like, why her? Think about, why not you? Why not you being this person? I want you to just germinate that idea in your head for just a moment. Oh my gosh, she just did that. Why can't I do that? Let's do that. And so those are the kind of things of where, you know, a lot of times people talk about being humble and don't brag and don't say the things that you've done, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? We also need to see all the things that people are doing out there so we know it's possible. I love Naveen Jain, because one of the things he talks about is in his moonshots. He's like the only private citizen that literally has put robots on the planet. And he talks about moonshots where he helps 1 billion people. He has his own company with Biome. He's like, the crazier my idea, the more people that I have to come along with my vision. So I'm not necessarily saying that everyone's going to be like that, but what is your moonshot? What is the thing where you think to yourself, it's like my dream, there's no way, it's so big, I can't even think about it. But again, like I said, my moonshot was that I wanted to be, when I thought to myself in March for Best You, I thought, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go check it out. And then I'll see, maybe I'll apply to be on the stage in March 2021. I'm like 2 months ahead of that, basically. And I'm already on my 4th one, having moved up, and up. So this is the kind of thing where I want you to see what's possible. If we don't think what's possible and we only think about what's impossible, we never get to that next level. So Marianne Williamson, if you've heard my talk before, some of the things that I have are ones that I've spoken about before, but some of the things are brand new. But Marianne Williamson's quote is still timeless, and I'd still like to read it for you. So our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. So that's what I want to do for you here. I want you just for a moment to think to yourself, how can I give myself permission? How can I give myself permission to be myself? Because you know what? Everybody else is taken. You cannot be anybody else but you. And unfortunately, a lot of times being what I would call terminally unique my entire life, most of the time, a lot of times people don't know what to do with you if you don't fit into a category. But ultimately, instead, it's like break the barriers and go make your own. And this morning, if you had a chance to see the red carpet panel, there were a lot of people that are talking about your own soul print, your own blueprint, your own fingerprint. Every single one of us has a fingerprint. The reason why they use it for biometric is because it's individual like a snowflake. Nobody else has your fingerprint. Nobody else has what you have. So that's the most important thing, is to start to think to yourself, what do I have that I can contribute to the world? So 2020 was a total disruptor, right? We're coming up on March 13th of 2021 will have been 1 year that the state of emergency had been declared. But the interesting thing is that for a lot of people, this was not a horrible year. For some people, there was the tragedy of the health and all the other things that we all are very, very familiar with the negativity. But then for other people, they also looked at it from the perspective of a parallel universe, and they started to focus on, okay, what do I have to offer? What can I help other people with? How can I serve humanity? How can I help with my message? So luckily, I'm super excited to be part of the Best You TV series with Bernardo. So I'll be interviewed by him in the next couple of months for my own show on the things that I've been doing. I consider myself a super connector. I love taking people from around the world and being able to introduce them to each other so that they can do business. I've introduced people that have ended up getting married and had kids together because I can just kind of see the energy. And I'm also super bold. So I'll just say, hey, you know what? You guys need to date. And then basically people are like, what? And then, they call me and say, hey, we should throw you a parade because we're getting married. And I'm like, woo, yeah, following your intuition, but also taking action on it. So 2020 was a huge disruptor. But by the same token, I realized that during this whole thing with this shutdown and, going virtual with work and things like that, everybody had to pivot in a different way. So if you look at it right now, we're at February 5th. So we're literally like 5 weeks away from being an entire year that we have been on some sort of a disruption from the pandemic that occurred starting in 2020, right? So ultimately, though, but what is it about certain people that were able to thrive? What was it about certain people that didn't thrive? What was it about certain people that put their energy forward and other people that didn't, right? So if you look at kind of the common denominators, one of the things that I was really looking at was from the different people that I was following their platforms, they were willing to say yes to completely different things as to the way they did business before. So what I mean by that is Bernardo being on a Facebook forum and stating in end of March, early April, what do I want to do now? And then from there, moving it to the piece of where he then started talking to different panelists, and then he started adding extra people, and then he added extra things here, and he added extra things there, et cetera, to the point of where the virtual expo, he was the very first person ever to be able to focus on that, right? So now we have these virtual expos, and you've got thousands of people that are clamoring to be able to get into them because ultimately people are seeing that this is the viable new way of being. And as he stated, it's probably not just going to be 2021. It'll probably be 2022, 2023, et cetera. So it'll probably have a ripple effect, et cetera. But if you're one of those people that bought into the idea in 2020 that this was a viable idea, you're already ahead of the game. But if you're a person that's kind of coming in late to the game and you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe I'll check it out once it's like proven itself, et cetera. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. And sometimes you have to be willing to be able to put yourself out there and say, okay, what am I being guided to do? So I always try to focus on what I think of as synchronicities and what the universe is trying to tell me. So as an intuitive life coach, that's something that I do with my international clients. So we focus on, okay, what are the blocks that are coming up, but what are we getting that are messages for you specifically? So from that perspective, in 2020, I just said yes to everything that came as an opportunity. So once Bernardo had things that he was involved with, other people that were affiliated with him basically sent me emails, and then other people that were affiliated sent me emails. And the next thing you know, my calendar was completely filled with all these different amazing Zoom calls that were completely free from all different kinds of people, which then ended up allowing me to go into the beta testing of Vishen Lakhiani's premium coaching, which I'm a part of now. And then from there, have the Mind Valley University, all of that came free. And then you had all these different content pieces of where everybody's trying to figure out, how can I make this better? How can I make this better? How can I make this better? Because a lot of people who are stage people, they need an audience, right? And even right now, it's kind of weird. I don't know how many people are listening to me right now. And it doesn't matter, because no matter what, I'm coming live to you from my living room. And whether or not it's 1 million people listening to this live or on a recording, or there's 5 people, the reality is I'm going to give the best that I can no matter what. Like Bernardo always says, this isn't the average you expo. This is the best you expo, right? So that's where it's super, super important. But so if 2020 was the year in some ways to be able to say yes to all the stuff that you were doing, then what that means is that 2021 is now this next phase, right? So it's almost like 2020 to me was like, you pulled down the foundation. You had to rip down a lot of things that didn't work for you any longer. A lot of people's relationships didn't work. I can't tell you how many clients that I had who were getting divorces and still had to live with their spouses during lockdown. I mean, for a lot of people, that was like super awkward. So there were a lot of things where people were going through some pretty traumatic things that were normally you could just get away from that person and you couldn't. So a lot of these type of things happen in the sense of where that was like the tear down, right? So you have kind of this old building, you tear it down to the brass tacks, but then after that, you get a blueprint. Right? And that blueprint is your soul's blueprint. And if you're really paying attention to what the universe is trying to tell you, you're going to co-create that together. So it's going to be part you and part the universe, part you and part the universe. You never take credit for all of it. But somebody said one time, they said they're spirit guides, which means that they're guides. They're not the authority that tell you what you should or shouldn't do. So you need to focus on your own guidance as to what you're being told to be able to focus on. And a lot of times the universe is giving you clues all day, every day. But a lot of us are completely addicted to our devices. So we're just completely oblivious and not seeing that. And it pains me to see. I remember all those amazing like cross-country trips that I used to take with my family. And we would look out the window and we would play games and other things about like I Spy and, you know, license plates and things like that. And nowadays, you know, if you've got your headphones on and you've got your device and all that other kind of stuff, it's like, you know, you've got your console in the back. It's like your parents are chauffeurs as opposed to enjoying all this beauty around you. So number one is probably being able to pay attention, right? So 2021, after you've ripped everything down and you've kind of like, you know, gotten down to the foundation, the next step is for you to basically focus on the building and the execution. So if you already have a plan that you put into focus in 2020, a lot of that is almost like, I think of that as being on the tarmac of an airplane. So it's like in 2020, you were loading up your cargo hold, you were loading up all the things that you needed to have there, all the things you were putting in your wishes fulfilled, etc. That's something that Esther Hicks talks about a lot with the vortex. It's like that's that place where all of your wishes are fulfilled, where you have an opportunity to be able to dream the things that you've always dreamed about. So from there, you have this opportunity to be able to build it and then execute it in a beautiful plan. So having that opportunity, that's where 2021 is going to be this beautiful crescendo. But a lot of us right now, we're on the tarmac, the engine's ready, everyone's got their seatbelts on, the cargo hold is completely filled up, right? And man, we're just waiting for the air traffic controller to tell us, yep, it's ready to take off. We're ready for you to go. And then after that, you know, you taxi down the runway, and the next thing you know, you get that propulsion of where, you know, that's one of my most exciting things about flying. I love the takeoff and I love the landing. It's like, those are like the most exhilarating parts of being in an airplane, but it's that roar and that rumble. And Austin is like, it's like ready to go. And then you just know they're going to like take you up. And the next thing you know, you feel that pull back into your seat and you're like, oh my God, we're taking off. We're going to someplace amazing, depending on where you're going with this, business, pleasure, not so great, etc. But it's still, you're going someplace, right? So where is your jet plane going? What destination do you want it to go to? And of course, there are a lot of places that you don't want to go to. So that's where it's super important to be able to focus on that as well. Okay. So to me, honestly, before 2020, life started to kind of feel like a rerun. I didn't feel like there was anything that was that fresh, etc. I'd been diagnosed with a chronic illness in 2016, which was not a fun thing, and kind of like, you know, grounded me in a certain way of previously being a world traveler and somebody who went all over the place. That was a very difficult thing. But then I started getting these inklings like, you know, 2020 is going to be different. I didn't know how different, but by the same token, it was still something of where I realized that 2020 in a lot of ways for a lot of people was carpe diem. It was really that seize the day and focus exactly on what it is that you want to be able to manifest for yourself. And if you're not clear about that, so Esther Hicks talks about this vibrational escrow. Okay. So if the universe doesn't even know what your dreams and wishes are because you have no clue and you haven't even gotten in touch with those, I can't tell you how many people that I work with who are clients and I ask them, so what are your dreams? Huh? Well, what do you want? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I think a lot of people believe that somehow at a certain age, you just give up. I love that Mae Musk CoverGirl commercial where she says, people say at a certain age, you just give up on caring about what you look like. And she's like, what age is that? And she's 74 and she like works it walking across the, you know, the street. And she's like a supermodel at 74. And you look at someone like that and you're like, yes, that's a role model right there. You know, my mom also somebody who like totally loves to rock the fashion and everybody always thinks she looks cute because she puts all her little outfits together, etc. But it's a vibe. It's something that you put out because she's not dressing for anybody else except for herself. So having this certain idea that at a certain age, you just kind of like cut it off. That's a fallacy, right? We're in a completely different modern age of where I know that I'm going to be 52 this month. And ultimately I could care less. So that thing, oh, don't ask a woman about her age. Oh, that's horrible. No, who cares? Bottom line is that you should rock whatever it is. And if I look younger or older or my age, it doesn't matter because it's really not about that. This is the physical body that we have on the outside and we treat it the best that we can, but it's not who we are, right? we have a body, but we are not a body. So before we start in some of the things in regards to what I want to focus on in regards to pivoting so you can make your 2021 a beautiful thing. And this isn't from the perspective of New Year's resolutions, because I don't believe in that kind of stuff. That's not exactly like a way to be able to do that, because most people have those as, you know, the couple weeks that they go in January to the gym that they've signed up for the year. And then those people pocket it because from January 15th to around the holidays or so, most people aren't even using it. So I just like to call on the light, like to sing the HU 3 times. It's something that I find really, really important. HU is 528 hertz. It is the sound of creation. I wrote an article for the Best You magazine in December called The Tone That Billionaires Listen to in the Morning. It's something that when I went to University of Santa Monica, we sang 3 hues and we toned with this tone to be able to clear anything in the space that no longer serves you. So it's like a clearing of basically any dead energy that's in your environment. So I'm going to sing HU 3 times after I ping my little tuning fork, and then we'll call on the light. And from there, I'm going to go over some different things that I would like to focus on in regards to making your 2021 a beautiful thing. All right. So I'm going to close my eyes for a moment. Working on the holographic space of everyone that's in this audience at this moment, also in perpetuity, anyone who's listening to the recording or the video. Okay, now that we've cleared the space, now we're going to go ahead and call on the light for you, connect you up to your source energy. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have any specific religious or dogmatic principles to it. It's just completely pure energy and source energy that works for you. Okay, so go ahead and take a deep breath. And this is something that I learned from my mentor, Kristen Marie Sheldon. So go ahead and connect yourself up 300 feet up above the ground. Connect yourself up to the light source as if you're plugging yourself into the clouds. Allow that beautiful energy to be able to come down like trickling white rain, coming down through your crown chakra, through the top of your head, coming down through your eyes, clearing away anything where you don't want to see something, clearing way down with your nose where you don't want to smell something, clearing down into your mouth where you don't want to say something, clearing down into your throat, back and forth, up and down, allowing this beautiful silver liquidy light to be able to come down through your throat chakra, coming down your arms, coming down your fingers, and then coming down into your heart center, allowing any energy to swirl around, to be able to cut up and break up anything that's negative that's holding you back from taking your next step. Taking that energy down into your solar plexus, which is your stomach, allowing anything in that space to be cleared out. Take it down to your sacral, which is your orange area of reproduction. Taking it down to your root, which is red, allowing it at the base of your torso. Bringing down that energy, that dripping, beautiful, honey-like silver white light, coming down your gluteus, coming down the backs of your hips, coming down your thighs, coming down your knees, coming down your shins, coming down your feet, and now pushing all the way down into the planet, pushing down into that beautiful hot magma, which is called Mother's Love of Gaia, allowing you to anchor your energy down in that space, swirling it around, and then bringing that beautiful Mother's Love magma energy back up to your feet like an elevator, bringing it up through your feet, back up through your shins, through your knees, through your thighs, through your hips, through your stomach, through your heart center, up through your shoulders, through your neck, through your face, up through your crown chakra, and then allowing that beautiful energy that you just called and connected in with. Call in any source energy, any kind of spirit guides, any angelic beings that you work with on a regular basis for your highest good. And then from your heart center, beam out around your home, beam out a 360-degree radius around your city, beam out a 360-degree radius around your state or your province, beam it out across the entire country that you live in, send that healing light across the globe, and then send it out into the planet. Just imagining that it's washing anything negative and allowing beautiful source energy to be able to fill up all of your cells, all of your mitochondria, and knowing that the very most important part of all of it is all about you. It's not about anyone else. It's all about you.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Okay, so sorry about that disturbance. Anyway. So I want to focus on the fact that now that we've called in the light, we're going to go ahead and focus on the 4 things that are going to be able to help you for 2021. So ultimately, it is about the mindset, and the mindset is most important. Hold on one second. Always the technical difficulties. Isn't that super fun? Anyway, that's when you know it's live, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about the 4 different things that we can focus on in regards to 2021. So we've got the concept of mindset. So I want to talk to you about mindset because that's something that Vishen Lakhiani just put out a Harvard challenge on Mindvalley, in the sense of where he said that he would like to make college obsolete with being able to have things in regards to business. And he was stating that ultimately the most important thing is the fact that the people who applied to Harvard oftentimes are as successful as people who went to Harvard. So what do you think that means? What that ends up meaning is the fact that when you are able to focus on that mindset of that you will do whatever it takes and you will be unstoppable to be able to achieve your goals, then you step into that energy knowing that it will be 100% wonderful because you're the person that's going to continue on with mindset. So if you think about somebody, let's say, who they get into Harvard, but they really didn't earn it, or they got it from a legacy scholarship or something in regards to the fact that to them it's just kind of something that they got because of family connections or other things like that. There's not the same experience. There's not the same acceptance. There's not the same belief system or the happiness about it. So ultimately, that's the part about it that is important in regards to thinking about your mindset. So if you think about it for yourself, I've been doing a full-time job while I've been doing all this other kind of stuff that's entrepreneurial. And I think that it's one of those things in the sense of where, yeah, I've been doing a lot of hours, and yes, my schedule is very, very booked. But by the same token, it's like focusing on the fact that I get to do this kind of stuff. It's the fact that this is my passion project. This is something of where I know that I can reach a lot of people that makes it super exciting. So that's the part about it that, you know, is really, really wonderful. And then I also want to focus on the fact that you can't do a spiritual bypass. So one of the things that I find, especially in the personal growth industry in general, is that there are a lot of people who want to do a spiritual bypass with a namaste or, you know, kind of a focus on the sense of where they just kind of want to go into the happy feelings, etc. But the reality is that there are a plethora of emotions that we have in our bodies. There are a plethora of emotions that we have to focus on, correct? And that's something of where it's super, super important that we honor all of those things. So we have anger for a particular reason. It doesn't have to be destructive anger. It doesn't have to be something we take out on other people. But by the same token, it does need to be something that is enabling people to have the opportunity to be able to focus on those different emotions. So if you're feeling anger that's coming up in your body, or you're feeling frustration that's coming up in your body, or you have a particular situation that's happening, etc., I came up with a phrase that I found is being like utilized in a very positive way. And that is, you need to face it, you need to embrace it, and then you need to replace it. So I'm not really a person that's super into like the rhymes and things like that, but by facing it means, okay, I'm pissed off right now. I'm super pissed off right now. And I know I'm angry right now, but I have the right to be pissed off right now. So because of that, it's the being angry in that moment, you allow it to bubble up, and then you embrace it and you say to yourself, okay, I'm angry right now. You can do something like a gestalt. A gestalt is where you take that anger and you put it in a chair. You can have a conversation with that anger. You can basically acknowledge it, try to figure out where was the first time that I ever felt anger. So if you can connect that particular thing, a lot of times what happens is that the triggers that you get from other people are generally projections that have come up from other things. So if you're triggered by somebody who has just come up against a particular inner wound that you have, the person pricked the same exact thing, like pricking your finger. It's the same exact wound that they just hit up against, but it was happened with a different person. So what happens is that the projection means that you're now going to try to take that out on the other person, even though that person wasn't the result of the wounding, but now they're doing the same thing. So ultimately, your handling of that situation, your process of handling that wounding is your responsibility. So you need to be able to handle that wounding from your perspective and be able to get rid of it. So then you can work on that other person. So what I really love is that Esther Hicks always talks about the fact that other people are not responsible for your happiness. Your alignment with your own source energy is where you get your alignment from. If you're completely in your alignment, you're not focused completely on the other behaviors that other people do, where that they're in a positive or a negative. And based on if they're treating you in a positive way or a negative way, then you're good or you're not. That shouldn't be your compass in regards to your emotional intelligence as to whether or not you can handle that or not. It's supposed to be about you working your process. But that's a very deep place to go to, because sometimes you hit up against wounds that are so painful that people will do anything they can to avoid feeling pain. Our entire bodies are wired towards going towards pleasure and like basically going against pain. So from that perspective of embracing it, you're stating, okay, anger, I see that you're here, not happy about it, but is it justified? Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Do I need to be able to focus on whether or not this is justified or not? So from that perspective, you can then replace it. So from replacing it, you state to yourself, okay, I realize that I'm angry because, this happened when I was younger and this is happening again. I don't know exactly what's happening. So instead of that, you replace it by looking at those emotions and clearing those emotions and then focusing on, okay, so how would I like to feel instead? So if you have a situation, I just had a situation that happened at work, which wasn't pleasant, and I have to deal with it, whether I like it or not. But the bottom line is that I started to think to myself, okay, what are the emotions that are surrounding about it? And feeling misunderstood, feeling disempowered, and feeling battle ready. Those were my three things that I was realizing that I had to go there in regards to my own self. So anywhere that I felt like I was disempowered in my life, so anywhere and everywhere I felt disempowered in my life, clear and transmute. Anywhere and everywhere I felt disempowered in my life, clear and transmute. So it's literally cutting any cords emotionally from the other person that you have that particular situation. And then you can see things clearly. Because the problem with emotions is a lot of times it blinds you. It doesn't allow you to have any kind of thing of where it completely blinds you. And so therefore it's not something that you're able to completely handle. Okay, so spiritual bypass, again, is a very, very detrimental thing. It's a very common thing, though, like I said, in the personal growth, metaphysical psychotherapy type of an area, because, again, people want to kind of put the tropisms and the platitudes and give you the, the pat cliche of like, oh, everything happens for a reason, or, that other kind of stuff too. And yeah, that might be true. But whether it's true or not, that still doesn't negate the fact that, okay, I'm pissed off right now. So what am I supposed to do with the idea that everything happens for a reason? You know what I mean? It's like, that doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. But if you can kind of get yourself down to the root of, okay, what is the emotion that I'm experiencing and how can I clear that out, knowing that this is attached to somebody else and I'm reacting to this new person in the same stimuli that I'm reacting from the other person. So those are kind of like, advanced psychotherapy type of methodologies. But by the same token, when you start to look at yourself and your reactions on things, it starts to make a lot more sense. Okay, so another thing that was really, really helpful during the pandemic that helped a lot of people, and I think it's not something that you should put in the past, but also something that would happen in the present, is something I call extreme gratitude. And there were some people that said that this got them through some very, very dark days. So the Native Americans talk about the fact that when you have food that comes to your table, It's 300 hands that brought that food to you. And so blessing that food back and thanking all of those 300 hands that were able to, plant it, grow it, water it, like harvest it, package it, truck it, sell it, manufacture it, all the different people that brought it. And then finally you've got the delivery guy or your family who puts it in a bag. And then they chop up the vegetables and they make the delicious sauce and they do all this other great stuff with it. And number one is like, I love to cook and I know the food that I make is really delicious, but I always bless my food. I always bless it back, those 300 hands, to thank them for, the service that they provided to be able to bring it to my table. And that was one of the things that I realized, that abundance really, really isn't about the number of dollars that you have in your bank. It's about whether or not you have everything you need in the moment. And that's something Ken Honda talks about a lot, in the sense of like money is air and it should be something that's a flow. And so if you have all of the money that you need in the moment, then you're technically a rich person. And so I realized that I never ran out of toilet paper during the pandemic. I never ran out of different food items. I never ran out of anything. I always had enough. And I started to kind of tease myself that the borderline hoarder in me that like to buy extra stuff in the past, like extra shampoos and things like that, actually set me up for the pandemic, of where I wasn't desperate for that. And I had plenty of hand soap and things like that. And even, it was funny that I had let my hair go, completely natural white in the last year or so. So when I haven't had a haircut in, I don't know, over a year and a half. So when I was, talking to people who were like, oh my God, I need to get my roots done, I was like, yeah, well, or you could just go natural. It's just, all of that is totally a personal choice. So when you look at extreme gratitude, it means exactly that, extreme gratitude. So yes and thank you are the two most important things in regards to having an abundant life. Absolutely. Saying yes to the things that come in your as opportunities, and saying thank you for all those things as well. Also super amazing. So when I say extreme gratitude, I mean, okay, thank you for all the people that are keeping the water clean and bringing it into my pipes. Thank you for all the people that are working at the utilities company, at the electric company, that are helping me to be able to keep my lights on and be able to make all of my devices work. Thank you to all the people that are monitoring all the cell towers and the telecommunications for my cell phone, that allow me to have good internet connections to be able to even be talking to you right now, which is even, pretty amazing when you think about it, from all over the world. Thank you for all the people that are landscaping my home. This last year, I did write an article called The Red Door of Transformation of 2020, that this last year, even though I was at home doing like at home work, I had like 3 days of fire alarms going off, or I had to put myself on mute, or I had workers that were on the roof, they were stomping around and they had buzzsaws and scaffolds and they were doing painting and they were doing all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, at the very end of December, I walked out, and in front of my space, I had a beautiful red door that had been painted. And it was this gorgeous metaphor for the fact that, yes, I was under construction for 2020. I was under construction trying to step into this new paradigm shift for myself. And yet all of that pain, all that noise, all that, irritation. I have 2 cats, and having to deal with 6 hours of the fire alarm going off while they're just going like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's annoying for me, but then for animals it was even worse. So those are the kind of things of where you just kind of have to go, okay, I'm grateful for the fact that my whole entire place is getting an upgrade. It's a pain in the ass, but I'm still grateful. What would it take for me to be grateful for the fact that all this was an upgrade? And I know a lot of people were doing kind of like kitchen renovations and other kind of renovations at their home. And then, Lowe's and Home Depot were running out of products and other things like that. So for a lot of people, that was definitely as challenging, as it had been before, because people are like, oh, I'm at home, we'll just renovate the kitchen. Well, a million other people wanted to do the same thing. So, pickings were slim for sinks and cabinets and countertops and other things like that. So, you saw the lines that were outside of Home Depot, they were pretty intense. So in addition to that, you also thank your plumbing, you thank your shower, you thank your toilet, you thank your sink, you thank your heating or air conditioning, you thank having clean air, you thank your dishwasher for washing your dishes, you thank your stove for making your food, you thank your refrigerator for keeping your food the correct temperature, you thank your washing machine and your dryer and your sink and your other thing, your car for driving you places and on and on and on and on, to the point of where it's like, then you have your clothes, and then you have your bed, and then you have your animals, and then you have your people, and then you have all these different things. But as you can see, if you get up to like 20, 30, 40, 50 things to be grateful for, it's really, really hard to stay in that like crummy, yucky, blah, everything sucks energy, right? Because we all know everything sucks. And that's another thing too, is that I had a lot of people who stated that during this pandemic area too, they had a lot of friends that were trauma victim friends. You could basically call up certain people where you could just commiserate and talk about, how everything sucked and the world is looking to end and so on and so forth. But, they actually state that a lot of times you are the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So that's a super important thing, of being able to know that you are hanging around people that have a high vibration. That doesn't mean that they're, oblivious or naive, but it means that they have the ability to be able to make the best out of a situation. Because if that's what you want to do, that's a super important part. So, all right. So extreme gratitude is something, like I said, it's a, instead of just, I thank you for these things, a lot of people kind of focus on, okay, think of 5 things that you're grateful for. But if you have, 30, 40, 50, 60 things that you can be grateful for, it makes a huge, huge difference. And it can shift your energy pretty much in like 1 minute. So I would recommend, if you're feeling in a crummy way, just think to yourself for a moment, go, okay, this is the way I can shift my energy. And in some ways that can make a difference between whether or not you have a crummy rest of your day or you shift it into a different space altogether. So the second thing in regards, so out of the 4 things for 2021 is mindset, focus, access, and presence. So the second one is focus. So last year, I want to tell you about a plant in regards to focus. And I know different companies have done different experiments with this. So I had this plant, and it was one of those things that was about this high. And it was probably a tulip bulb of some sort. And it had a little shoot that popped up out of nowhere after about 9 months. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's super cool. Like, let's just see. And I have this beautiful jewel pod that has different jewels in it that you can have the water that's programmed with that. So I started pouring this beautiful jewel infused distilled water. And then I started telling the plant, I'm like, oh, you're so beautiful. I love you. Aren't you wonderful? Aren't you wonderful? So every single person that came into my workspace, I kept saying, oh, tell the plant how beautiful it is and just prize it, etc. So that was something that I believe it's from Carl Rogers, but at University of Santa Monica, we focus a lot on prizing in the sense of where don't be stingy with your compliments. When you see that someone looks nice, or they made a particular effort, or they made a nice dish for you, or they went above and beyond, or whatever, prize people. I always have extra packs of gum and mints and things like that. So if I've had anyone who was ever delivering anything for me, I have bottles of water and things like that. It's just, hey, I have something a little extra because I wanted to, help you out to be able to brighten your day. And that's the kind of stuff that ends up being happy. And the cool thing is that in my building of 400 units, I have a UPS guy, and he delivers my USPS, and he delivers my FedEx, and he delivers my UPS, because he knows every time he sees me, I'm going to smile and I'll have something for him, and he's always happy to see me. So that's the kind of stuff I'm like, if you can brighten his day, knowing that he's been all over the place with all sorts of stress, etc., there's nothing wrong with it, because you're just literally brightening someone else's day. So that little plant literally got prized for 2 weeks. That little plant every day almost doubled in size. And it got to a point where it was like, to this point, it had a stick in it. We had ribbons that were tied around it. It was so amazing. And people would come in and be like, oh my God, what the hell? How is that even possible? And it would have fallen over. I mean, there's multiple times when it just completely fell over from the weight of it, because it was so green and these shoots were so fresh and pure. And that's the kind of thing too, in the sense of where it's a focus. So have you ever noticed that children who are really, really loved a lot, and then they're told that they do a good job for the things that they actually do, not just like, oh, Jimmy, you're a good boy and we're giving you a sticky star just because you're a good, because you're a kid. It's like for things that they feel like they've actually earned, et cetera, et cetera. That's an intrinsic smile. That's an intrinsic reward of where the child wants to do something to please the person, because of the fact that they know they're going to get positive reinforcement from being totally in a positive way. And it's not manipulative in any way, because it's completely focusing on the positive rather than negative. Because we know also with children that oftentimes they will focus on, if they get negative attention is better than no attention. So oftentimes they'll go on and on with that kind of stuff too. So what was so neat was just from the perspective of really, really having that aha moment, in the sense of where if you have this plant and as a living being, the more love that you basically, that you project to it, the more that it has opportunity to feel like it wants to grow or not. And there was another experiment where they had you do 2 little cups with a seed on it. And one of them, I had a little cute little ladybug container. And I was like watering it, and you're supposed to tell it, oh, I love you and you're so pretty. And then the other one, you basically barely watered it and then you didn't say anything to it. Well, what do you think happened? Of course, the one with the ladybug that got prized and told it was beautiful all the time, here comes a sprout. The one that had no love, basically almost got ignored, no shoot, never blossomed, nothing. So think about that. How are you doing that to yourself? Where are the places of where you are prizing yourself and giving yourself nice stuff as opposed to the yucky stuff? I know that Bernardo has spoken multiple times about the fact that sometimes people say things to themselves that are worse than they would ever put up with from any other human being. So if you're that person that is horrifyingly saying horrible things to yourself, cut it out. Literally, if you hear negative type of little chatter inside of your brain, sometimes I'm like, I will tell that little voice to be like, you know what? You get a timeout. You need to go in the corner for about 10 minutes. And then after a while, it's like, it gets to a point of where you're not really listening to it anymore because it realizes it's not going to be able to get the attention that it wants. But that inner chatter sometimes, and that inner critic can be the most devastating thing that you're literally beating yourself up with. So where can you focus your love? Where can you focus your prizing on yourself? Because the more filled up that you are and the more confident that you are, the more you also, as Marianne Williams said, give others the permission to be themselves. Okay, so I'm at 9:45, so I have about 10 minutes. So I have my last two things to go for, and I want to do a quick little meditation to just kind of visualize as the next steps you want to take. All right, so number 3, out of mindset, focus, access, and presence. So the third one is access. So this is something that a lot of times people don't always kind of like know about. But my question is, where is the universe trying to talk to you to tell you about where you need to go in the next moments? So from that perspective, what are you paying attention or not paying attention to? So my mom won a contest from the Malibu magazine. We went to the Biltmore Hotel in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a very famous hotel, and they had a concierge level. Well, the concierge level only has like a little key card on it, and it's completely nondescript door. And you walk in and it's literally nonstop, unlimited snacks, big screen TVs, couches, billiards, barbecues on the outside, et cetera, et cetera. But you would never know any of that was inside of it because it's in an unmarked door. So it's those kind of things of where you have no idea that that access is there. Then you move on to the next point that I want to make is that once you kind of upgrade in regards to your Amex card as to whether or not you get the platinum or the black or whatever color that you have with that kind of stuff, you then get access to different kinds of perks. American Express always said membership has its benefits, right? So I've always flown coach. I've always been sardined in front of, on my flight to Fiji, I think it was 12 hours of being sardined in front of, 3-4 people in a row and turbulence. And, that's just been kind of part of flying in the past. But then once you basically are open-minded to the idea that there are these VIP lounges, but again, it's all about access. You don't have any kind of a sign. There's no directions to it. You have to have the app. It tells you to go down this aisle, go down here, make a left here, take this elevator, blah, blah, blah. You open up and it's like you're in a brand new world with all this gorgeous food and free drinks and free Wi-Fi. And you can relax and recline. You can take a shower if you want. You can watch TV. You can listen to music, whatever you want. And then you see that you've got this beautiful smoked glass, and you're seeing the airplanes come and go, but down below you see that there are thousands of people that are huddled together in the regular main gate. Well, I've been one of those people for most of my life. So it's not about better or worse than. That's not what it's about. It's about access, because before, if I was one of those people sitting in that regular gate, if I look up, I don't know those people are up there. I have no idea. But that's the same thing. Like Costco apparently has a $21,000 private jet membership card. I don't know about that. Never been a part of it. But that's the kind of stuff. It's like opening yourself up to the access of all these different things that are available to you. Once you know that they exist, they're also attainable in the sense of where you think to yourself in regards to goal setting. So, and maybe that's not something you want. Some people don't care about luxury items. Some people don't care about that kind of stuff. But being able to be on a plane where you can recline and take a nap and have, like the comforts of where you wake up the next day in the place and you're relaxed and feel good, as opposed to, feel like you're a smelly sardine that just got popped out of a tuna can. I think I'd rather focus a little bit more on something that would be from the perspective of comfort. But it's like that same thing of where if you're like at a strip mall and you go there all the time, and there's always your regular grocery store, and there's the dry cleaners, and all those different stores, and you're like, okay, yeah. And then someone says, oh, meet me at the Thai restaurant. Oh, where's the Thai restaurant? Oh, it's in such and such a thing next to the Ralph's. I've never seen that Thai restaurant. No, because I never went there. I never needed to look and see whether or not it was there before, because I never got invited. I never had any reason to go there. So that's the best part, in the sense where sometimes it's also about the fact that you only pay attention a lot of times to the things that you have to pay attention to. So if you're always going to the grocery store and the dry cleaners, but there's 15 stores in the strip mall, that means that there's also the vacuum repair shop. Oh, now I know that place is there. Oh, now I know that there's also the bakery, and now there's all these other different things. But if you didn't have any reason for it before, there was absolutely no reason for you to go back there. So that's also something of where I think that kind of stuff, it almost cracks me up, because it's almost comical, because it's almost like you've never been there before, but you're like, oh yeah, I've been this place like 100 times, but I never saw the Thai restaurant before. And then all of a sudden it's like, woo. And then you can never unsee the Thai restaurant, right? Same thing with the VIP lounges. You can't unsee that. And if you know that the concierge level is there, if you go back to the same hotel and you don't have access to that room, you're going to go by and go like, I wonder what kind of snacks that they have in there, because you might not have the key card, right? Okay. So the last one is presence. So this is a really important one. So coming at it from the perspective that your presence is one of the most important things that you can give to somebody. Your time and your energy and your presence. Who likes it when they go out to dinner in any way, shape, or form and person's on their cell phone? Or when you know that you're talking to someone on the phone and they're typing and they're basically on their computer and like, yeah, etc. Like, to me, I prefer one-to-one, and I would prefer that if you're focused, cool. But if you're not focused, then we can talk at another time. Because that presence that you're giving to that person is really, really important, especially if you're doing energy clearings. So I know that when you do energy clearings for people, it's like your whole entire thing is about getting your energy centers 100% aligned so you can be for the highest service of the client and what their needs are. And that just kind of reminds me of the starfish story. So the starfish story is basically about an old man walks down the beach, and he sees this little boy. And this little boy, there's thousands of beach starfish on the shore. And the little boy is basically tossing all of these starfish back into the ocean. And the old man goes, what are you doing? There's like thousands of them. Like, they're all going to die. And the little boy holds up the starfish and he says, it matters. It matters to this one. And then he tosses it into the ocean and continues on. So ultimately, each person that you come across is the starfish in your life. Each person that you have the opportunity to interact with, there's no better, there's no worse. If you're focused on your ego and what you can get from people, et cetera, things aren't going to work out the way that you want to. So, like, for example, a beautiful thing that's happened recently that I'm super excited about is that I've never been on a podcast before, but all of a sudden it's like, I was able to manifest a podcast in England, manifested a podcast in the US. I'll be doing a podcast in Australia in the next couple of weeks. Being able to know that, the best TV series is coming up, and then having my TV show in the spring. I'm going to be calling it You Are Amazing, where it's just literally like interviewing all sorts of amazing people about their shine, etc. To be able to have a platform, to be able to call people up and say, hey, you know what? I'd love to interview you because your story is so amazing. I've had people who've been like on their knees in their kitchens crying because they're so excited about the fact that somebody took the time to see them as that starfish, to see them as that special person. And what's really, really always ironic to me is that a lot of times you ask those people about like their life story, et cetera, and they do amazing things and they work with amazing international like clients and corporations, et cetera. And they're like, little me, moi, you want to hear about my story? What's interesting about my story? And you're like, yes, people need to hear about your story. So that's why, to me, having a TV show where it's like, not only could it be called You Are Amazing, but yes, we want to hear your story. Like, you could almost add that in addition to that too. Okay, so I think I have 3 minutes. So 2021, you guys, is unlimited. Okay, whatever you've built, if you haven't built it yet, start building it. Okay, remember Noah's Ark? He started building that thing way in advance. So these are the kind of things of where, step up into what you need to do. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, podcasts were not in my idea. I don't want to do a podcast. Being a guest on podcasts, sure. Anybody who feels like wanting to ask me if I want to be a guest on a podcast, the answer is yes. Sounds great. Those are fun. And it's just to be able to get your message out of interacting with other people, because it's just something that's really enjoyable to do. But shows. That wasn't on my radar in 2020. If you told me that I was going to be on TV or in the main stage of an international global expo, I'd have been like, yeah, no. But here it is. You know what I'm saying? So therefore it's like, step into that moment. So in the next 2 minutes, I want to just think to yourself. So close your eyes for a moment. And I just want you to put your hands over your heart. I want you to focus on what is your passion project. What is the thing that you feel like when you wake up, you go, yes, I want to do that. That makes me excited. What have you not been willing to step into? What have you said to yourself, oh, I'm not brave enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I don't have enough money to, et cetera, et cetera. What if you just stepped away from all of those excuses and just allowed yourself to step into that Abraham vortex of wishes fulfilled and just allow yourself to be showered with the opportunity of possibility? What would it take for you to step into the realm of possibility where you literally suspend disbelief? You step into the energy of childlike wonder. And when you open your eyes, every day is as exciting as Christmas morning. And anything in the way of that, clear and transmute across all time, dimension, space, and reality. There's so much waiting for you in your life. My life's not perfect. Behind this, I've got so much clutter. That's definitely something this year that I would like to, focus on. But ultimately, talking to you guys is more important to me than the focusing on that. So my whole entire goal in life is to be able to inspire people to fall in love with themselves, reanimate the dreams that they left behind or thought had died within them, and to become the VIP of their own life. Those are the 3 things that I wish for you. And if you want to get in touch with me, my website is www.youareamazing.online, exactly the way that it sounds. And this is one of those things where, to me, I feel so honored and so blessed to be able to be in front of you guys. Honestly, there is no limit. If you look at the universe, it is infinite. It is so filled with so many beautiful possibilities. And if you step into those possibilities, knowing that you will be supported, most of the time it's that, they always say it's like the showing up that's the first part. What is it? 99% inspiration not 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. This is about you. This is about you stepping into 2021 and killing it. As Bernardo says, kicking ass on global derriere. That is like literally a brilliant tagline. And I think I'm going to steal that. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed my talk. And I'm so excited to continue on with this journey. And thank you, Bernardo, for the opportunity. And hopefully people got some nuggets of wisdom that they can take with them. I think you're muted. Sorry, I'm always very careful of not being nosy. Thank you for your love and thank what you bring. You bring, that's it, confidence and keep going and never giving up and just literally, moving forward and taking advantage of everything we've gone through in 2020 to implement things in 2021. I think, I believe in a lot of the same things that you do. I think we're in this is an opportunity and I think there's this consciousness now around the world for people to take action. Mm-hmm. And my experience with a lot of it is that there's still too many people that don't take action. There's a lot of people that still talk. There's a lot of people that read a lot of notes and attend all the courses and then they don't implement anything. Yep. So I think kind of what I love about you is you keep learning, you keep surrounding yourself by great people and you carry on pushing forward. And that's what we've all got to do. That's the obligation we all have. So absolutely. I love the title of your talk. I love what you brought. And thank you so much, Barbie, for being here. Thank you. Appreciate it, Bernardo. Take care. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. So today is the end of day 1, the Best You Virtual Expo London. And look, we have an amazing lineup as well, still ready for you in the next couple of days. So I hope you're going to be joining us tomorrow and the day after, because we've got some phenomenal people. We've got Janie Lee Grace from the UK, radio presenter. She's talking about, how to ditch the booze and take control of your life. God knows there's a lot of people that love a good drinking. We have Paul O'Mahony that joined me this morning.
He's the founder of the Rethink brand. He's going to be bringing you Rethink Social Media. Stop wasting time, start earning money. This is the time. And he's got phenomenal expertise. And he will show you ways on how you can not only thrive, but you could do extremely well with other people's products and being very present on social media. He's got a proven track record. He's a great guy, very congruent with his message. We've got Darren Winters as well. Darren has been joining us for the last few expos. Darren is based in the UK. I attended his courses, his trading course, and I've got to say, I learned so much. And I feel that a lot of the people in the personal development world don't really understand and appreciate the importance of being financially independent. Hey, listen, having the right mindset is great, but having the right mindset and being broke is not something you want. So I hope you join Darren tomorrow. He's going to be here. And then I've got David Fagan, who, has been collaborating as well with us for quite some time. He's a great guy, marketing genius. So his talk is about authority marketing, how to be a life-saving, world-changing, money-making expert. And then in the evening, later on in the afternoon, we've got Chaos Today. That's Mas Daji. He's going to be talking about how to take advantage of a near-death perspective. So Mas is one of the amazing individuals that we have that has a show. We'll be having a show with us. And then tomorrow we end the day with Jason Vale's documentary, Super Juice Me. We've had the pleasure and honor to be able to show his documentary. And it's a wake-up call for people that understand or need to understand the importance of being healthy, which is what Johan brought today from UK Health Radio. And, a lot of the speakers have brought you some great expertise today. So I want to thank you. We've also got, remember, the Empowering Women Room. We've got the Masters, Mentors, and Influencers. So we've got some phenomenal speakers organized for you tomorrow and on Sunday. And I want to thank my hosts who have been involved in the other breakout rooms. Ruth, I want to thank Sarah Jane. I want to thank Hugh. I want to thank Charles, who have been hosting the MMI and the Empowering Women. And I've got more hosts joining me tomorrow. I've got Sarah Davison joining me tomorrow. She's going to be hosting the MMI. And we've still got Ruth. And I'll be here. I'll be here on the main stage, bringing you a lot of and announcing the winners that won today, the prizes, the giveaways. Remember, anyone or any of you that's attending, if you're here and you're present and you've registered, we are going to be, you might be one of the lucky winners. We're giving close to $100,000 worth of goodies in training courses, coaching, books, courses. Lisa Nichols, who's actually giving she's giving a coaching, a speaking course. She is also going to be giving some potential opportunity for you to be able to work with her. So I hope you sign up, join us tomorrow, and take advantage of all the amazing giveaways. So not only you're learning from these great experts, you also got the potential opportunity of being able to be coached and mentored by them. I want to thank all the speakers that have shared the stage with us today. I want to thank all my guests, all my panelists, all my team, and my producers. And I want to thank everyone so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll play a commercial, and we'll be back tomorrow morning. Thank you so much.